Courtney Williams had a team-high 17 points against the Liberty. Alana Smith, Jessica Shepard has been filling in incredibly well for Nafisa Collier. And Bridget Carlton will wrap up that starting five. And for the Atlanta Dream, a group that boasts a lot of size and a lot of versatility, Alicia Gray averaging 18.5 points per game, shooting 45% from the field. Ryan Howard, Brianna Jones, and Naz Hillman has started now 9 straight games, averaging nearly a double-double in that stretch. Certainly in the conversation for most improved, certainly 6th player of the year as well. And then Tahina Paopao, who was back on the bench the last 4 games, had started twice this season. She is back in the starting lineup tonight instead of Maya Caldwell. The Minnesota Lynx in their black Rebel jerseys, the Atlanta Dream in red. And we are officially underway here in Atlanta. Minnesota wins the tip, and they will have the very first possession. Alicia Gray guarding Kayla McBride, who gets rid of the basketball to Alana Smith. Smith will hand it off to Courtney Williams, engineering this offense. Finds a cutting Bridget Carlton. First play goes to her, and she knocks down the mid-range shot right about the second hash mark, and it's 2-0. Minnesota Lynx with that opening possession. The Atlanta Dream with the basketball now. Ryan Howard, jab fake against McBride, tries to slice her way inside, steps back, and she'll knock it down from the exact same spot as Bridget Carlton from that second hash mark just outside the paint. Here's Courtney Williams, the mid-range long 2 doesn't go. And the rebound for Naz Hillman. Speeding down the floor, Tahina Paopao, one of the top 3-point shooters in the WNBA this season, was in college as well, had one season 47% the year they won the championship at South Carolina. Looking inside, McBride able to tip it away, aimed for Naz Hillman, but Minnesota's movement with the ball looking very strong there defensively. This is an opportunity for Minnesota to kind of course correct. Head coach Cheryl Lee said, we did not start the game well. Our starters did not play well in that last game. Only one in double figures. That was Courtney Williams. So they're trying to correct that right from the get-go. Ryan Howard, blanketed by Kayla McBride, gets up a 3. That's no good. She hits the deck. Minnesota has an advantage here. McBride in transition picks up her dribble. Courtney Williams takes a look at a 3 and said Bridget Carlton wide open. She knocks down the triple. Bridget Carlton had an ocean around her before the next defender was found. It is 5-2 Minnesota Lynx here early at Gateway Center Arena. Alicia Gray getting her first touch of the game, trying to take Shepard one-on-one. We'll kick it out. Tahina Paopao getting her first look at a 3. That is no good. This season, Paopao 42% from long range. Carlton again left open from 3. She's got another. Bridget Carlton had just 3 points on 1 of 3, shooting the last 4 games, 2 points per game on 3 shots per game. Minnesota leads 8-2, and Carlton already has 5 points on a perfect 2 of 2 shooting. Howard through a pick and roll finds Brianna Jones underneath. Good playmaking by the Atlanta Dream. Perfectly executed pick and roll. It is 8-4. Minnesota still with the lead. Under 8 minutes to play in this first quarter. Smith maneuvering around the perimeter. Now Williams has it from the perimeter. She'll go inside to Jessica Shepard, who sweeps her way inside, guides it in for 2. First player not Bridget Carlton to score for the Minnesota Lynx. Carlton with 8 points so far, and a timeout called on the floor this early in the game, not even 3 minutes in. The Minnesota Lynx leading by 6, 10-4 here early. 4 of 5 shooting to start. We're going to step aside and be back here from Atlanta, here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
This is Nafisa Collier. What is your favorite sports memory as an athlete? I think my favorite sports memory would be winning my first gold medal, just because it's something that I've always dreamed about doing, something that you always picture, and then so to have that medal put around my neck, it was just the best feeling ever. If you could play another professional sport, which one would it be? Definitely volleyball. I love volleyball. That was easy. If you need one thing for the rest of your life, what would you choose? Okay, I have 2 answers. I feel like the first answer would be pasta, because there's so many different kinds of pasta. So that would probably be my answer. But also, I love African food called cassava leaves. It's my favorite food, and I could eat that for the rest of my life. If you had to cook one meal for your teammates, what would you make? I would actually not make a meal. I would make cookies. They're called ooey gooey butter cookies. They're delicious. Ooh, what's your favorite restaurant in the Twin Cities? Okay, I actually just found this place. It's called Cubana. It's like a Brazilian steakhouse. Delicious. So good. What is the last show or movie you watched? Severance. It's so good. Oh my gosh, everybody needs to watch that. What's your favorite hobby off the court? I really like reading. So I don't know if that counts as a hobby, but I really like reading. What's your favorite book or series? It's called Throne of Glass. It's like a fantasy. She's like, it's magic and stuff like that. It's really, really good if you're into fantasy.
It's really simple. Move the basketball. You know, like you mentioned that, the last game that we played, we sort of fell short in that area. And I think we have a team built for, needing movement, sharing it, cutting. They're really smart. Jess and Lamb and certainly Fee and Mosh, like we have a good group that understands what they need. We were doing a little more challenging, a little more one-on-one, and that's not our best space. And so we can get back to moving the basketball, moving our bodies. That bodes well for our front line.
Head coach Cheryl Reeve there talking about her expectations for the front court tonight. So far, so good in multiple facets for the Minnesota Lynx with a 6-point lead, 10-4 here early. Bridget Carleton with 8 of those points, a perfect 3 of 3 shooting. And for Bridget Carleton, that's exactly what Minnesota needs the last 4 games. Just 2 points per game on 3 shots per game. The 6 games before that, she was averaging 9 points per game on 6 shots. So she started to drift off a little bit in her offensive impact, and Minnesota needed to punch first here, and she made sure of that. Here is Pow Pow out of the timeout. No good from 3. Atlanta 0 for 3. They were second in the WNBA in terms of the percentage of their points from the three-point line. So they will have a heavy dose beyond the arc. The handoff, Shepard to McBride, right back to Shepard, who barrels her way inside for 2. That was beautiful basketball by the Minnesota Lynx. McBride seeing that matchup, giving it right back to Shepard, and then Shepard using her muscle right at the rim. Here is Pow Pow slicing her way through the paint. She floats it up and in for 2. Minnesota leads 12-6. 7 minutes to play in the first quarter. Courtney Williams looking to drop it off to Jessica Shepard. Stopped by Pow Pow. She turns it over. Alicia Gray in the passing lane, and she's going to finish that one off right on her comfortable left side. Gray coming off a 16-point game, 6 of 14 shooting, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. But against Minnesota, has struggled at times. 1 for 8 from 3. Minnesota leads 12-8 to start this contest. Carleton thought about another 3, takes 1 dribble, sets herself up. That's her first miss. She had Brianna Jones on her as well, 6'4", power forward. Hillman, pump fake, drive, and stolen away by McBride. Poked away a couple of times. It's going to go out of bounds, but stay. Atlanta basketball. Minnesota not only hitting shots from the floor, 5 of 7 to start this game, 2 of 3 from long range. And Bridget Carleton deserves a ton of credit for setting the tone here early. She has 8 points, Jessica Shepard with 4, but already the increase in activity. Minnesota was on its heels so early against New York at Barclays Center just a couple days ago. Right now, they are dictating. Minnesota leads by 4, 12-8. Baseline out of bounds coming up for the Atlanta Dream, and Pow Pow is running the show now offensively. Brittany Griner is checked into the game, and she's going to post up against Atlanta Smith, delivers a bump, leaves it out for Naz Hillman for 3. That is no good. Last 3 games, 0 for 10 entering tonight, now 0 for 11 in this stretch. Kayla McBride lets it fly and knocks it down from 3 in transition. You know when she's in rhythm, that hop in her step, how quickly she releases the ball, it's going to go down. Alicia Gray is going to plow her way right to the rim. Minnesota still leads by 5, 15-10 after a couple quick buckets in transition. Atlanta Smith gets it inside, quickly kicks it out, multiple passes. Another thing we didn't see as often against New York. McBride gets herself free along the baseline is good. By the way, with that last 3, back-to-back buckets by Kayla McBride, sitting at 699 threes. One more makes her the 7th player in WNBA history to reach that mark. Atlanta will move it around the perimeter. Minnesota leading by 7. Alicia Gray, a step-back 3. That's no good. And soaring for the rebound is Shepard. She gets it away to Courtney Williams. Still leading the scoring, Bridget Carleton with her 8 points. Minnesota leads by 7. Post touch for Smith. Too hard of a pass, and BG is able to poke it away. Pow Pow sprinting in transition. Finds Hillman. Another spot up 3. Doesn't go. Now 0 for 12 her last 4 games. And a foul's going to go on Minnesota as McBride Well, that's going to go on actually Bridget Carleton, it appears. She was just trying to box out Alicia Gray. She hit the floor, and she's going to check out of the game right now. And coming in is Maya Caldwell. 17-10, Minnesota with the lead over the Atlanta Dream. One of just 6 teams to beat Minnesota this season. Minnesota has not lost back-to-back games all season. Pow off the hesitation will retreat. Hillman will swing it. Here's Caldwell stepping into a 3, and she knocks it down. First 3 of the game for the Atlanta Dream. They had started 0 for 6 on this team that is so dependent on the 3 ball, but shooting as a team just 33%. Bridget Carleton, the mid-range doesn't go. She was looking for a foul, which you don't often see her be demonstrative about. Sprinting back on defense, Minnesota still leads by 4. Lob inside goes to Brittany Griner. The help defense of Alana Smith erases any good look. Minnesota back with the basketball, and the ball sails out of bounds off the pass from Shepard. Was looking across the court to McBride, and just out of her reach. Maria Kliundakova is going to check in. Not the first time, but her husband and her young son are here as well. Frequently see them on road trips, but Ilari Kosu, her mother, is also traveling with the Minnesota Lynx right now. So the Russian families know each other well, spending some time together here on this 3-game road trip. Minnesota with a back-to-back on the road, flying out later tonight to get to Indianapolis for the first meeting of the regular season against the Fever tomorrow. Just erasing that Commissioner's Cup doesn't count in the standings anyway. Minnesota leads by 4, 17-13. It is Dream basketball. Pow will move it around the perimeter. Caldwell fakes a handoff, but Bridget Carleton keeping her in check. Pow for 3. That's no good. The Atlanta Dream 1 for 7 from long range. Courtney Williams up ahead. Incredible ball movement and ball handling, leading to a bucket by Kayla McBride. 19-13 is Minnesota's lead. Another shot knocked down along the baseline by Kayla McBride. That was a 2, but Courtney Williams, the way she stopped her dribble was outstanding in traffic. Minnesota picks off another pass. Bridget Carleton leading the break. McBride, trailer, 3. Yes! And that is 700 career threes for Kayla McBride. One of the greatest shooters in WNBA history continues to etch her name amongst the best. The Atlanta Dream will score on the other side. Just a mid-range jump shot for Ryan Howard there. 22-15 is Minnesota's lead. Howard with 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting. Courtney Williams, 1 dribble pull-up, and long-range 2 rattled home. So the shooters for Minnesota feeling it right now. They're 10 of 13 to start this game. McBride with 10 points. Carleton with 8. Here is Caldwell along the baseline. She gets free. That's no good. From long range, Minnesota again ignited on the fast break. Williams is going to slow things down. McBride one-on-one against the rookie Pow. She's going to throw up a 3. Was looking for a foul there, trying to make her appeal. No whistle there. 24-15 is Minnesota's lead, largest of today. They have not ever trailed from the very get-go. Caldwell will swing it. Ryan Howard gives a look inside. Carleton guarding Howard. The second leading scorer on this team. She stops on a drive, tries to get it inside to force it to BG, and Alana Smith pokes it away. She sprints the floor and will not finish. No whistle either. But Alana Smith working the hardest, sprinting 94 feet. Pow, the head fake. She'll take a tough drive to the rim, and the follow-up is good by Brittany Griner. It's 24-17. Lynx still with the lead, shooting 10 of 15 to start this game. Smith will get it over half court. Naz Hillman the assignment on a potential defensive player of the year. Here's Courtney Williams calling for a high screen from Jessica Shepard, trying to reignite this possession. Couple dribble pull-up, just rims out that time, and the rebound taken by Brittany Griner. Griner off the bench the last 6 games, had started all 340 career games before this stretch, her first season in Atlanta. Howard slices in, and she is fouled by Alana Smith, coming over on her forearm as she was driving to the left. 24-17 is Minnesota's lead. Multiple substitutions set to check in. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, Brianna Jones, Alicia Gray for Atlanta, Kliundakova, Heidemann, and Dejanay Carrington for the Minnesota Lynx. And that group of the aforementioned Minnesota Lynx scored 38 points off the bench. Also new into the game and making her Lynx debut is Jalen Sherrod, who was brought over just about a week ago brought in from the New York Liberty, signed on August 9th. Had played in 18 games this season, 1.2 points per game. She has a lot of family here in Atlanta. She is from Birmingham, Alabama, played 5 seasons at Colorado, and that team took major strides during her time there, but not a place where you're going to get a whole lot of attention. She went undrafted in 2024, won a championship with the Liberty last season, and now making her Lynx debut. Minnesota is going to turn it over after those free throws, 24-19. Still Minnesota in command of this lead. That is their 4th turnover of this game. That's led to 5 Atlanta points. Atlanta, not a team that typically turns teams over as well. Alicia Gray facing up against Heidemann, trying to give it inside to Brittany Griner. And she's going to face up against Kliundakova. Snake along the baseline. A lot of traffic. She turns around and she earns the whistle. So the Minnesota Lynx are leaving Kliundakova there for a second, but once she got that ball that deep, the double team swarming Griner. And that's going to earn herself a trip to the free throw line. This is a team in the Atlanta Dream, 4th in the WNBA in free throw attempts per game, and a message from Coach Reeve and this coaching staff is especially to not allow three-point plays, especially for Brittany Griner and Brianna Jones, who are typically catching the ball in extremely close range of the basket. So they have that ability to, of course, be very potent from there, use their size and their strength to finish through contact. There was Griner good on both free throws. Minnesota's lead down to 3, 24-21 as Heidemann gets into the offense, but Ryan Howard is going to pick her pocket and go all the way and finish. Minnesota leads by 1, 24-23. Heidemann back to work offensively. It is Heidemann Sherrod making her very first appearance wearing 00 in a Minnesota Lynx uniform after she was signed here. She was let go by the New York Liberty. Kliundakova tried to get a touch in the paint, but that ball sails away from her. And the Atlanta Dream threatening right now. Minnesota looking a little unsettled in the last couple of minutes, and Atlanta has taken advantage en route to an 8-0 run. Minnesota led by 9 here in this first quarter. Currently still lead by 1, 24-23. They have not trailed in this game. Carrington guarding Ryan Howard. Howard trying to take her off the dribble, using a couple of screens, staggered. Looking inside to Brianna Jones, working hard for that position against Kliundakova. Nia Coffey along the baseline finds Jones. Jones puts her shoulder down into Smith, gets it back, and then puts it down for 2. Smith tried to be disruptive there and moving her positioning. Here is Sherrod sprinting her way up the floor with 2 seconds to go. She is blocked, and that is how the first quarter will end. A surge by the Atlanta Dream to take the lead heading into the second quarter. And we knew things are going to be close here. The first 2 games between these two teams, a combined 8-point difference. One went to overtime. And ready for that the rest of the way. It's a 1-point lead for the Atlanta Dream heading into the second here at Gateway Center Arena. We're going to step aside for a moment here on the Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
Here's something pretty disturbing I discovered while researching this podcast. This is what it actually says on the Los Angeles Police Department website. The site states that the Adult Missing Persons Unit investigates 3,200 cases a month, and 70% of those missing people are found or returned voluntarily within 2 or 3 days. It goes on to explain, and I quote here, "Since being a missing person is not a crime, police are given a very limited role while conducting these types of investigations." At the bottom of the webpage, it gets more disturbing. There's a section titled, "What if they never returned?" And here's the official police advice. In such situations, you may want to enlist the services of a private investigator to assist in your search. If you can't afford a PI, the police elaborate, quote, "Another option would be to contact the Salvation Army, which has a missing persons locator program." There is not a single sentence on the LAPD website that would lead a loved one of a missing person to have any faith that the police would properly investigate it. What the LAPD is basically saying is, if someone you love goes missing, don't overreact. They'll probably turn up unless they don't, in which case you should get someone besides the police to look into it. All this is my way of saying, if the police took missing persons cases as seriously as they do, say, bank robberies, I wouldn't have had to do this podcast in the first place and end up chasing a violent criminal halfway around the country. I'm Neil Strauss, and you can hear the full story of To Live and Die in LA.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. Number one for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
The second quarter here in Atlanta Gateway Center Arena. Minnesota trails the Atlanta Dream 25-24, their first deficit of this game. They started 10 of 13 shooting from the floor, missed their final 4 shots, but still that's 59% shooting. You have Atlanta shooting 48%, 1 of 8 from long range, and Minnesota built up a 9-point lead in that first quarter before a late spark by the Atlanta Dream. And Lynx fans want to own a signed Rebel jersey? Bid on exclusive gear at the Lynx Rebel auction this coming Sunday, including game-worn jerseys from that day's matchup with the Fever and the 2025 All-Star jerseys signed by Nafisa Collier, Courtney Williams, and Kayla McBride. Learn more at lynxbasketball.com/auction. It is Dream basketball to start this second quarter. On the floor for the Minnesota Lynx, McBride, Kliundakova, Carrington, Smith, and Heidemann. Working around the three-point line, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough will drive, kick, Gray surrounded. She finds Ryan Howard, who will knock down the three. 28-24 is the Atlanta Dream lead. The Minnesota Lynx playing their 6th straight game without Nafisa Collier due to that right ankle injury. 9 total games she has missed this season. Ball is kicked as Smith was looking for McBride backdoor. It's still Minnesota basketball with a refreshed shot clock. 9:28 to go here in the second quarter. Leading scorer for Minnesota, Kayla McBride, with her 10 points, reached 700 career threes in that first quarter. Bridget Carlton started it all off with 8 points to start this contest. And Carrington will turn it over right into the hands of Walker-Kimbrough, who's weaving her way through. She'll leave it up for Alicia Gray, who flies her way to the rim for 2. And the Atlanta Dream continuing to put their foot on the gas here in the second quarter. 30-24 after trailing by 9 points in that first frame. Carrington works a pick and roll with Alana Smith. She's going to pull up, hand in her face, and she's fouled. And Carrington coming up a little bit slowly. She's on all fours right now. Carrington, 11 points, 3 of 9 shooting, 4 for 4 from the free throw line against New York most recently. She's back on her feet, but hinged in half. It looks like a timeout is going to be called here. So this most recent play under review right now. Minnesota trailing 30-24. So it's not a 3. This is typically when you see these calls, but they are trying to determine if there was a reckless closeout, and each shooting player needs to have the space and the ability to safely land. That's what it looked like, a defender getting underneath Carrington, and it looked like she might have buckled there or tweaked something. She's back on her feet. She's back in the huddle, but she was slow to get back up. And this is significant because that would mean after the free throw, possession as well. So obviously the idea to protect shooters, and you often see that with 3-point shots on those really big closeouts where players are sprinting out there, don't quite get out of the way in time. But this was happening just right about the elbow, right at the edge of the paint. Minnesota trailing by 6:30-24 as this play under review. Join us at our house on Sunday, August 24th for a can't-miss Commissioner's Cup rematch as the Lynx host the Indiana Fever. The first 5,000 fans score a corduroy bucket hat presented by State Farm. Get your tickets now at lynxbasketball.com/tickets. Let's step aside for a moment and allow our stations to identify themselves.
Heard right here all season long. The Minnesota Timberwolves channel on the iHeartRadio app.
Refereeing crew huddling up right now. 30-24, Minnesota trails. Might be time to report some somewhat relevant news that I was told and looked up that there are potentially storms in the area in Atlanta tonight. If you've been following throughout the season, both games at Atlanta and at Minnesota have been affected. The electricity in the building due to storms outside. Just kind of a strange coincidence in the series between these two teams. But hopefully that will not be interrupted again tonight. So 9:05 on the clock here in the second quarter. Coach Reeve getting a further explanation here. And Carrington is going to shoot her free throws. Minnesota trails by 6, 30-24 as Carrington steps to the free throw line. Double figures her fourth time in 5 games since joining the Minnesota Lynx. And she is good on the first. Another one coming her way. You look at her time in Minnesota, just how active she is. And I'm really looking forward to this because when you see her, you see the way that she flies. You see her activity, how she moves defensively. But I had a great chat with her today before the game that you can hear at halftime. Just a glimpse into her intelligence as a basketball player, how she thinks the game. I really enjoyed that. Wish we could have gone on longer, but only so much time we have to air. Minnesota trails by 4 after those 2 free throws from Carrington, 30-24. Atlanta back with the basketball off the flare screen. Here is Gray losing the handle of the basketball. She's just going to throw up a shot. Minnesota defended that well. It came nowhere close. And now Courtney Williams into the front court with speed, guarded by Chitori Walker-Kimbrough. Smith wants it inside. She has Ryan Howard on her right now. Kliundikova, the spin and the floater. She just took Brianna Jones to the cup for 2. Minnesota within 2 now, 30-28. The crowd pretty quiet here at Gateway Center Arena as Minnesota finding that spark again themselves. High screen comes from Naz Hillman. Alicia Gray takes a bump, and she will be shooting 2. That's going to go on Carrington. Well, may have gotten her with her hip as Gray was driving. On the floor for Minnesota, Kliundikova, Smith, Carrington, Williams, and McBride. That play by Kliundikova, though, was just really something. She just took off to the rim, spin move in the paint, and scored that easily. And Kliundikova, this group, in the absence of Nafisa Collier, with her, Dejanay Carrington and Atisha Heidemann, not just the different skill set that they bring, but the experience that they bring as well. I mean, Kliundikova was magnificent against the New York Liberty en route to 38 bench points amongst those 3, 11 points, 5 of 9 shooting. And that kind of play just really displays her poise and her confidence. Gray goes 1 for 2, skying for the rebound. Kliundikova. Minnesota trails by 3, 31-28, but Williams turns it over. Pau tries to cross her up, goes into the paint and can't float it up and in. Another rebound for Kliundikova. That's 3 turnovers here for Courtney Williams. She bounces into the front court. The pull-up left way short. And it's going to be Atlanta Dream basketball under 8 minutes to play in this second quarter. And Minnesota looking a little disjointed right now. They're still shooting 58% overall as a team, 4 for 6 from long range. Atlanta at 48%, but it has not had the same kind of cohesion and connectivity we saw the first several minutes of this game. Gray working around a pick and roll from the free throw line. Brittany Griner, the double team comes. Hillman wide open for 3. She can't knock it down. Now 0 for 13 her last 4 games. Williams saves it from going out of bounds. Bridget Carlton speed into the front court. A near collision with her and Gray. Williams tries to drop it off to Kliundikova. Another turnover for the Minnesota Lynx. Gray, the Euro, is fouled. That's going to go on Carlton, who was trying to save that fast break opportunity. 31-28 Atlanta Dream. Minnesota had a 9-point lead in that first quarter, but the Dream just started clicking together. This is not just the top 2 teams in the WNBA in the standings, but also number 1 and number 2 in both offensive rating and defensive rating. When you look at this Dream team, they have won 9 of their last 12 games. Those 3 losses in that stretch, all by 2 points apiece, including most recently against Las Vegas. They had a 10-point lead early in the fourth quarter, and that was squandered. Partly because you have Asia Wilson scoring 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 blocks. for the surging Las Vegas Aces, who are all of a sudden in contention for a number 2 seed in the WNBA standings. Gray was good on the first. It's a 4-point lead for the Atlanta Dream. And the lefty, her second free throw, also good. The Atlanta Dream from the free throw line, 7 for 8. Minnesota 2 for 2 to start things off. Kliavkovic will move it around the perimeter. Thought about handing it off to Carrington. And it's going to be an offensive foul. McBride was coming hard off of Kliavkovic to try and shed Alicia Gray and get the ball into her hands, get a good look at a shot. And that's going to go on Kliavkovic, who was attempting the handoff right there. So it's Dream basketball. That is 10 turnovers for the Minnesota Lynx. We're second in the WNBA. They turn it over under 13 times per game this season. Tahina Paopao, the rookie, bringing it up against Natisha Heidemann. 33-28, Minnesota trails. They work through Hillman in the high post. She'll kick it out. It's poked away by Carrington, and now in the hands of Kayla McBride. Minnesota forces a turnover on the other side, and McBride is fouled as she tries to slice her way through the paint. Already a very physical contest between these two teams, and I think you associate that physicality with the Atlanta Dream because of the size they have, both inside, of course, but also on the perimeter. But I remember Alana Smith saying a couple games ago, she said, I think we're one of the most physical teams in the WNBA as well. And I would not disagree. 33-28, the Lynx trail. Brianna Jones is going to come in for Naz Hillman. So Brianna Jones, playing a 4 this season, will be guarding Bridget Carlton. And then Brittany Griner on Kliavkovic. Head coach Cheryl Reeve is still having some kind of contention here with the referees. Was this with substitution, perhaps? I'm not privy to what her protest might be. But going back to the scorer's table, and now the Lynx are going to try and get a substitution in. Jessica Shepard comes in for Dejanay Carrington. Bridget Carlton, sideline out of bounds. She'll get it into Natisha Heidemann. Heidemann brings it back out to face up. Michaela McBride is going to retreat, has Brittany Griner on her. She tries to go inside to Maria Kliavkovic, and it just trickles out of bounds, and that has really been illustrative of what has plagued Minnesota in this second quarter. These kind of miscues we're not used to seeing. 11 turnovers in this game already, and just trying to get that into the post. And of course, Brittany Griner is going to affect any pass that she is standing in front of. You cannot see. I talked to Bridget Carlton about that being an inbounder, and she said you just have to trust where your teammates are, and that time for Minnesota it goes awry on the offensive end. Griner has it in the paint, one-on-one against Kliavkovic. She sweeps across the lane, pulls up, no good, and the rebound snared by Carlton. 33-28, Minnesota trails as Heidemann sprints into the front court, takes a handoff from Shepard. Shepard sets a screen. Heidemann thought about a step back. Kliavkovic faces off for 3, misses everything there. And Minnesota continuing to look out of sorts here in the second quarter after leading by 9 points in the first. Alana Smith set to check in on the floor for Minnesota right now. Heidemann, Shepard, McBride, Kliavkovic, and Carlton. As Tahina Paopao will engineer this offense. She tries to get downhill. Heidemann stops her. Here's Brianna Jones for 3. That's no good. She's extended her game to beyond 3-point range, but just 29% this season. Minnesota still trails by 5. Heidemann finds Shepard. Shepard directing traffic, will hands it off to Heidemann. Heidemann tight roping along the baseline and finishes at the rim in a tight space. Minnesota needed that bucket. They're still shooting 55% from the floor. They're within 3, even with these miscues piling up. Down in the corner, Maya Caldwell wide open for 3. She knocks it down. Third 3 today for the Dream. They're 3 of 12 shooting in this contest. In fact, the last 3 games, Atlanta has shot just 25% from 3. That continuing to be low here as Carlton pulls up from the mid-range, fading. That's no good. Kliavkovic and Jones on the floor battling for it. Finds McBride. She flies to the rim and cannot convert at close range. Minnesota trails by 6 in rhythm. Ryan Howard off back iron for 3. That's no good. And Griner and Kliavkovic battling, and it will be a jump ball. Both these teams battling on the boards. The Atlanta Dream, one of the best rebounding teams in the WNBA. Was that not going to be a jump ball? Well, it looks like a timeout called on the floor. We'll sort this out in just a moment. It might be a foul. It is going to be a foul on Brittany Griner on the other side, to the chagrin of this crowd. 4:50 to go before halftime. Minnesota locked in a battle here in Atlanta, trailing by 6, 36-30. Be back in just a moment here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
Your destination for fun all summer long is Treasure Island. This summer is stacked with incredible concerts, thrilling giveaways, free live entertainment, and more. Bring the family for a day at the Lagoon and Island Extreme Bowl. Cruise the Mississippi River aboard Spirit of the Water, or do it all with a staycation at Treasure Island RV Park and Campground or our luxurious hotel. Make this the best summer yet at Treasure Island Resort and Casino. Destination fun.
Ever wonder how artificial intelligence or 3D printing is used to solve medical problems? Or how research is discovering new ways to slow or even stop medical conditions we used to think of as untreatable? I'm Kathy Werzer. Listen to Tomorrow's Cure, a podcast where I interview experts from Mayo Clinic and other renowned organizations. What they describe may sound futuristic, but listen and you'll find out Tomorrow's Cure is already here. Find it now wherever you get your podcasts.
Alex Leibelt here with you in our WNBA Tonight studios for a scoreboard update. Two other games going on right now. The third one that's happening across the association takes place in about 2 hours' time. The Washington Mystics are in Connecticut for a rematch of this Tuesday matchup where the Sun came out in Washington with an 80-69 victory, and the Connecticut Sun are back on top of the Mystics here again. They lead 33-26 at the halftime break. Kiki Iriafen is leading for the Mystics with 9 points and 4 rebounds. Tina Charles has 7 points and 3 boards for the Sun. The Chicago Sky were just eliminated from playoff contention last night. They are playing against the New York Liberty in New York. Sky have lost 13 of their last 14 games, and it's not looking good for them right now. They trail by 6 halfway through the third quarter, 52-46, as Jonquel Jones has 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists for New York. The Phoenix Mercury and Las Vegas Aces kick off just after 9 p.m. in about 2 hours' time. The Mercury have won 2 straight, and the Aces, hottest team in the league, they've won 10 of their last 11. Asia Wilson, 30-plus in 3 straight games, a double-double in 6 of her last 8. Let's head back to Atlanta with Sloan Martin.
Thank you, Alex. And when you just mentioned the Chicago Sky right there, out of playoff contention, that means they will be in the lottery. Minnesota owns that pick for the 2026 draft. So the Minnesota Lynx will be competing for a championship here and have a lottery pick in 2026 in a draft that is looking incredibly strong and pretty deep, especially at the top. So interesting how that kind of maneuvering works out. Head coach Cheryl Reeve, not last year's Executive of the Year for nothing. Minnesota back with the basketball, trailing by 6, 36-30, past the midway point of this second quarter. Natisha Heidemann was trying to lob a pass inside to Jessica Shepard and just clanged off the backboard. So coming out of the timeout, not any better for the Minnesota Lynx. They're still shooting 52% from the floor. Here is Pow Pow, a good look at a 3, and she drains it. 4-3 of the game for the Atlanta Dream. They're 4 for 14. Minnesota just 4 for 7 in this game. Much more efficient than the Dream so far, but limited opportunities. Carlton started off this game incredibly hot. She slices her way through. Looked like she was blocked by Jones, but she is fouled. That's the kind of aggression you want to see from Bridget Carlton. Had 8 straight points to start this game for Minnesota, who now have their largest deficit of the game at 9, 39-30, and things have been stagnant right now. So to have her, who is such an experienced starter, to so many things big and small, for the Minnesota Lynx to say, I'm going to try and bring something right now because we're needing that kind of spark plug. And that's what she was doing on that play. First free throw was good, 9 points now for Carlton. Shepard, Smith, McBride, and Williams on the floor, this starting unit. And she is good on the second. Minnesota within 7, 39-32, with 4 minutes to play before halftime. Minnesota trying to have it click back together again as it did to begin this game, as Howard drives wildly. Will kick it out. Long 3, Alicia Gray, and she's got it. That is back-to-back triples for the Atlanta Dream, finding their stride and their stroke. Now 5 threes, and Gray has 12 points. Ryan Howard also in double figures with 11 as McBride will drive hard and convert at the rim for 2. She just took off in a blow-by right there. Fun to see her when she decides to put the ball on the deck. Foul is going to go on Minnesota on Courtney Williams as Tahina Paopao was just speeding up the court. 42-34, Minnesota trailing. It's going to stay Atlanta basketball. And Gray is going to go take it out. Gray today 4 of 6 shooting, same as Ryan Howard. Really tough tandem in the backcourt to try and control. Gray has it now, waits for a screen from Jones. Gray tries a step back. Carlton sticks with her. Hillman will move it around the perimeter. Now Howard looking inside. She's got 8 points on the shot clock. Will throw up a 3 contested, and that is no good. Minnesota, great defense on that possession right there. Courtney Williams into the front court. Shepard will move it outside the three-point line. McBride down into Shepard, and it's going to go off of Shepard. Picked up by Hillman. Another Minnesota turnover. That is now 13 in this contest, leading to 18 points for the Atlanta Dream. That has been the story so far. Paopao will move it to Gray. Great ball movement by the Atlanta Dream, who were top 3 in the WNBA in assists per game. Pass comes inside to Jones, then outside to Hillman. 3 seconds to shoot. Hillman has to put it up. Is blocked by Alana Smith when 1 second to go on the shot clock. Minnesota's defense was scrambling but kept it together on that possession as a timeout is called on the floor. 2:45 remaining in this second quarter. Minnesota trailing the Atlanta Dream 42-34 here in Atlanta. We'll be back with the rest of the first half when we come back here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
Yeah, the devil's come to take me.
Can I help you? Yes, I need to have an officer call me. My daughter is missing.
On July 24th, 2016, 23-year-old Kaylee Sawyer vanished from her small Oregon town.
It had to be something reasonable. It didn't even cross my mind that there was anything other than just something explainable.
But the story of who killed her and how takes wild twists and turns.
He's like, I killed a woman.
A second woman kidnapped.
And then that's when he just started basically yelling at me to start driving. He's like, I need to get out of here. He's like, I just killed somebody.
A dramatic carjacking.
I yelled for help, and he said, I'll shoot you, and I yelled for help again, and he shot me.
A high-speed police chase and a murderer's disturbing urge to kill.
Do you think he would have become a serial killer had he had the chance?
I think so.
It just baffles me that somebody can just take someone's life.
The most evil person you've ever met.
How can it be us?
Urge to Kill, a new podcast from KGW News and Vault Studios.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
To play before halftime here at Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta. Sloan Martin along with you. 42-34 is Atlanta's lead. Minnesota working from behind. For much of this second quarter, they surrendered their first lead of the game in the final moments of the first quarter. Had a 9-point lead in that first frame, but evaporated quickly after that. The Dream have been going full force ever since. And interesting to note, this Atlanta Dream team shooting 10 of 18 from 2-point range. In their games against Minnesota this season, they've been shooting 54% from 2-point range. That's the most successful mark Minnesota has given up to any other team this season. So we know Atlanta, they're second in offensive rating this season. They're 5th in points per game. They're a team that can find their stride offensively, and they're doing that right now. But just 1 second on the shot clock for the Dream. With this baseline inbounds coming up, Howard will be taking it out. No one guarding the inbounder directly. 1 second on the clock into Paopao. She's not going to get it off in time. It'll be a shot clock violation. And Carl Smesko, first-year head coach of the Atlanta Dream, trying to make his case that we should be able to get off a catch-and-shoot 3 with 1 second to go. It was just released too early. So he's trying to plead his case, and Smith says, I'll take the ball. It's Minnesota possession, 42-34. The Trail still shooting, though, 54%, but surrendering 18 points off of 13 turnovers as Courtney Williams will miss there back in her home state, 1 of 5 shooting. 6 assists for her so far to go along with 4 turnovers as well. There's Pow trying to get downhill, laid out on a screen as Alana Smith. And it's going to be an offensive foul on the Dream, and I believe Griner and Smith, as we are too accustomed to seeing, slow to get back on her feet. Helped up by McBride, kind of rolling her neck and staying on the floor. It's one of the toughest players you will ever see. Time and time and time again. Back on offense, going to work, setting a screen for Courtney Williams. Minnesota trails 42-34. Smith will swing it around the perimeter. McBride, downhill speed. She finds Smith sprinting to the rim for an easy 2. 42-36. Minnesota now trails. They needed that kind of high percentage look with their turnover trouble today in this first half. Pow misses at close range on the floater. The rebound tracked down by Shepard, and she'll maneuver it into the front court. She's going to turn on the Jets and spin against Gray and finish. Just a delirious move there by Jessica Shepard off the dribble, 94 feet, taking it herself. 42-38 is Minnesota's deficit right now as Alicia Gray gets herself free for 3. Can't knock it down. Another rebound for Shepard. She outlets it out to Williams, guarded by Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. The trailer and Shepard gives a look inside. Smith wants it against Alicia Gray. The pull-up 2 is no good for McBride. McBride still the leading scorer for Minnesota at 12 points. Minnesota trails 42-38 as Howard gets it into the front court. Tied up is Smith and Brittany Griner, 2 former teammates in Phoenix, incredibly physical as they battle it out for position. Alana Smith just taking an elbow to her neck. And the foul's going to go on Smith. Brittany Griner is trying to treat Alana Smith like she's a rag doll and just stuff her down and move her out of the way. Smith, because she's undersized against Griner, her neck is right by her elbow, took one directly, and is trying to plead her case. Why is that on me? Has her arms out, looking for an explanation. That is a tough job, and that's why her teammates praise her time and time again. Here she gets into the passing lane, and she is going to be blocked on the other side by Coffey. It'll stay with Jessica Shepard. Great work by Shepard, sprinting the floor, helping out her teammate, but still a steal there for Alana Smith. 42-40. Minnesota trailed by 10 points in this quarter. 40 seconds to go. They have turned it up. Griner going to work in the paint against Jessica Shepard. Uses all of her strength, lurching forward. She can't convert. Minnesota still leading by 2, can take the lead on this possession. Weaving in is Courtney Williams. Now in the hands of McBride. She'll loft a 3. That's off target. And Coffey, the Minneapolis native, comes up with the rebounds. Shot clock is off before halftime here in Atlanta. Ryan Howard is taking her time dribbling out some seconds. She'll go behind the back against Carleton. Left on an island here. Howard, the head fake, gets a little bit of a step on Carleton. Can't finish at the rim. And we head to the halftime break. Minnesota within 2, 42-40. They finished this quarter on an 8-0 run. Just when it seemed like things were not quite humming like they wanted to. Minnesota, a very strong push to end that second quarter. They trailed by 10 in the second, and they're trailing just by 2 at this point with the second half coming up. All right, Alex Leibold is going to bring you the halftime show from our WNBA Tonight studios at Target Center Highlights. He'll break it all down, and stick around for my interview with Dejanay Carrington. Just such an interesting, thoughtful, smart person. You'll want to listen to that. Plenty more to come right here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
In March of 2005, financier Jeffrey Epstein is at a charity benefit in New York City. Wall Street titans are in attendance. Rod Stewart is booked to perform. In a photo taken that night, Epstein has his arm around a woman, pulling her head toward his so that his smirking lips graze her temple. Epstein is tan and relaxed, and he looks like he doesn't have a care in the world. On that same day, 1,200 miles south, a 14-year-old girl in Palm Beach, Florida, gives a statement to the police that will launch an investigation. But maybe Epstein is right not to be worried.
Nobody cared what these women had to say. Their insights were ignored as the feds and then the state made this case go away.
Mr. Epstein should have been looking at a potential sentence of 360 years at a minimum. But that's not what happened, because there was a power dynamic here, wasn't there?
The recent charges against Jeffrey Epstein have brought down a cabinet member and tarnished the reputations of billionaires and elite universities.
Here is a group of people, and I gotta say mostly men, who talk a great deal about changing the world, but are fundamentally functioning as a cartel.
A very simple question. Who is Jeffrey Epstein?
Who is Jeffrey Epstein? Who is in his inner circle?
The mystery of Jeffrey Epstein's wealth has never been clarified.
He started out as a Dalton teacher, right? A teacher at the private school in Manhattan.
From Wondery, the company behind Dirty John and The Shrink Next Door, comes the mysterious Mr. Epstein.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
Downhill speed. She finds Smith sprinting to the rim for an easy two. 42-36, Minnesota now trails. They needed that kind of high percentage look with their turnover trouble today in this first half. Pow misses at close range on the floater. The rebound tracked down by Shepard, and she'll maneuver it into the front court. She's going to turn on the Jets and spin against Gray and finish. Just a delirious move there by Jessica Shepard off the dribble, 94 feet, taking it herself. 42-38 is Minnesota's deficit right now.
Jessica Shepard and Alana Smith getting things done there late in that first half to keep Minnesota in this ballgame. They were trailing by 10 at one point there in the second quarter, but it's just a 2-point deficit now, 42-40 after 20 minutes of play. As we welcome you into the WNBA Tonight studios for the halftime show, Alex Leibold here with you to walk through some of those highlights and the box score that tell the story of these first 20 minutes that have the Lynx trailing by just 2 points in Atlanta. Two of the best teams facing off here tonight in the Minnesota Lynx and Atlanta Dream. Both teams are looking to bounce back from a loss here in this contest tonight. And Bridget Carleton set the tone early for Minnesota, scoring the Lynx's first 8 points on a mid-range jumper and 2 3-pointers. But it was Kayla McBride who started to heat up in that first quarter and made some history on the way to creating some separation for her Lynx.
Courtney Williams up ahead. Incredible ball movement and ball handling, leading to a bucket by Kayla McBride. 19-13 is Minnesota's lead. Another shot knocked down along the baseline by Kayla McBride. That was a 2, but Courtney Williams, the way she stopped her dribble was outstanding in traffic. Minnesota picks off another pass. Bridget Carleton leading the break. McBride, trailer, 3. Yes! And that is 700 career threes for Kayla McBride. One of the greatest shooters in WNBA history continues to etch her name amongst the best.
The 700th three-pointer of Kayla McBride's career, just the 7th WNBA player ever to reach 700 career threes. Congrats to Kayla McBride. She put the Lynx up by 9 points with that three-pointer, their largest lead of the first quarter, before a 10-0 burst by the Atlanta Dream over those final 3 minutes of the first quarter puts Minnesota behind by 1, 25-24, as the Lynx started 10 of 13 from the field and 4 of 5 from three-point range. They missed their last 4 shots of that quarter and turned the ball over 6 times in the first. Momentum definitely on the side of the home team with that 10-0 run, and that run continued into the second frame. Atlanta with 5 straight to open the second. The lead would extend even further as the second quarter rolled on.
Minnesota within 7, 39-32, with 4 minutes to play before halftime. Minnesota trying to have it click back together again as it did to begin this game as Howard drives wildly. Will kick it out. Long three, Alicia Gray, and she's got it. That is back-to-back triples for the Atlanta Dream, finding their stride and their stroke. Now 5 threes, and Gray has 12 points. Ryan Howard also in double figures with 11.
Alicia Gray there with a three-pointer. That was the 85th three of the season for Alicia Gray. That's the second most in the WNBA. That put the Dream, up by 10 points. But the Lynx, as they always do, they fight and they punch right back into this contest with an 8-0 run over the final 3 minutes and 56 seconds of that second quarter to send both teams into the locker rooms with just a 2-point margin. 42-40 is the score after 20 minutes of play. The Dream are capitalizing very much so on the Lynx turning over the ball. The Lynx have turned the ball over 13 times in the first 20 minutes, and that has turned into 18 points for the home side. So that's going to be something to look at for Minnesota in this second half. Courtney Williams has 4 turnovers. Kayla McBride has 3. Natisha Heidemann with 2, and a bunch of other Lynx players with 1. That's going to be something. Handling the ball is important against this Atlanta Dream team, who are the second best defense in the league. The Lynx have 18 of their 40 points in the paint. They're shooting 4 of 8 from three-point range, over 51% from the field as a whole. But the Dream have 7 more shot attempts thanks to those turnovers. They've scored 18 of their 42 points in the paint. The Dream in the previous 2 contests against Minnesota, in Game 1, they scored 52 in the paint. In Game 2, they scored 40. So the Lynx are doing a good job of preventing the Dream from scoring as much in that close range area. Alicia Gray and Kayla McBride are the leading scorers in today's contest with 12 points apiece. Bridget Carlton has 10 after having 8 in the first quarter. And Jessica Shepard already on double-double watch. She has 8 points, 10 rebounds, 1 on the offensive side of the glass. Courtney Williams has 6 assists, but those 4 turnovers to go with them. Lynx trail by 2 at the break. 42-40 is your score in Atlanta. We're going to pause for a quick moment. When we get back, we'll have a practice report with Sloan Martin and Dejanay Carrington. You're listening to Minnesota Lynx basketball.
Hailstorm. And Lindsey Sterling. The Never Rest Duality Tour. Live at the Treasure Island Amphitheater. Friday, September 26th. With Apocalyptica. On sale now at TICasino.com. Hailstorm and Lindsey Sterling. Live.
It's what you wait for all week. The 3-pointers, the rebounds, the thrill of every shot. Win or lose, it's the hope that keeps you coming back. The dream that this time, it might be your year. And so you represent with anticipation and with pride. Because when the pressure's on, your support is everything. That's why the NBA store is here to support you. Check out the largest selection of official NBA gear at NBAstore.com. A Fanatics experience.
At U.S. Bank, when they say they're in it with you, they mean it. Not just for the good stuff, the grand openings and celebrations, although those are pretty great, but for all the hard work it took to get there, the fine-tuning of goals, the managing of cash and workflows, and decision-making. They're in to help you through all of it, because together they're proving day in and day out that there is nothing as powerful as the power of us. Visit usbank.com to get started today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC, copyright 2024 U.S. Bank.
At Mayo Clinic, we are predicting the unpredictable. Our experts are using a patient's own anatomy to create 3D printed, life-size organ models to map out challenges ahead of time, making complex surgeries more precise, efficient, and less invasive. We are making more possible at Mayo Clinic because every day we're doing what's never been done. Learn more at mayoclinic.org/possible. Mayo Clinic. You know where to go.
This copyrighted telecast of WNBA Enterprises may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise used in any form without the express written consent of WNBA Enterprises.
Lynx down by 2 after 20 minutes of play, 42-40 in Atlanta against this Dream team. But the Lynx are out-rebounding this Dream team 21-13 in those 20 minutes. So keeping up with the physicality and or that is demanded from this Atlanta Dream team. But the Lynx are turning the ball over more than they would like to. 13 turnovers have turned into 18 Atlanta Dream points in that first half as they trail by 2, 42-40. The Lynx got 6 points from their bench in that first half, 2 of them coming from DiJonai Carrington, and she met with Sloan Martin earlier today before this contest with the Atlanta Dream for today's practice report.
DiJonai, I wanted to start off asking, with the 38 bench points against New York, this is obviously a group that has a lot of different skill sets, but a lot of experience too. How valuable was that to come in and say, hey, the starters or maybe just don't have it at certain points, we have to bring it ourselves collectively, UT and Masha?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like myself and T, and obviously Masha has played at a very, very high level and been a star overseas, even here when she was in LA and things like that. But for me and T's been a starter in the finals before. You know, I played in the finals, so we're not coming off the bench thinking that there's no expectations from us. So we're coming in and we know that every night what's expected of us, whether the starters are cooking or not. You know, we have to come in with that same intensity because we play a different style than the first group. I think T and I, we really like to get up and run. We both like to get downhill and to the rim, and so I think it just changes the pace of the game, and it catches the defense off guard a little bit because they're thinking they can guard things one way the first couple minutes, and then, you know, they have to kind of shift that when a new group comes in, and then once we're all blended together, it makes it really hard for them. So I think you're just seeing us trying to be consistent, and obviously we know what the first group is going to give us, and whether it's their night or not, we know that those are shots that we need them to continue to take, and we still have to continue to do our job. So, you know, we're just having fun out there, though.
Is it fun for you and T, where it feels like you're like a tidal wave coming in, where it is so strong and so different, like you're just coming at T?
Yeah, it is, and I feel like when you're in it, you kind of feel it, but when you go back and watch it, you really see it a little bit differently. Even some clips of just like the way we're all sprinting, and I think sometimes it doesn't end in a layup, but it ends in cross matches, or it ends up in people are just out of position of where they want to be on defense. Or we suck so much attention in because we're running to the rim so hard, and then we can get those kick-out sprays. So it's just the nuances of just playing hard and running hard. It makes it really hard to guard.
Speaking of that, what is the challenge when it comes to Rhyne Howard and Allisha Gray, the combination where they are big guards, where they can put it on the floor but also knock it down, and kind of the unique challenge they present on the perimeter tonight?
Yeah, both very, very lethal. Obviously, Ryan very dominant right, and Leash very dominant left. So you have somebody on both sides of the court where they want to be. Sometimes when you have two right-handed people, they both want to be on the same side. So you kind of think, okay, if this person's on that side, the action's probably coming for them. But having two people who are opposite-handed on their sides of the court, you never really know who it's coming for. So I think that in itself is something that people don't think about, but it's something that is very hard to guard. You can't really get a jump on it because you don't know what side they're coming to. They're both that effective. Leisha's having an incredible year. The way that she has just continued to blossom every single year and improve her game has been really, really cool to see from afar. So it's obviously going to be a challenge, but I think that I know we have the pieces to get the job done, but we're going to have to do it for 40 minutes. And then with their post presence, you know, it's going to be a team effort for sure all the way around.
DiJonai, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Delightful conversation there between DiJonai and Sloan. It's been a team effort so far. It's going to be a team effort the rest of the way. Bridget Carlton with 10 points. Jessica Shepard with 8 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. Kayla McBride, 12 points, including her 700th career three-pointer. Just the 7th player in WNBA history to reach that mark. Lynx down by 2, 42-20 after 20 minutes of play. All the action for the second half coming up in Atlanta right here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
Ever wonder how artificial intelligence or 3D printing is used to solve medical problems? Or how research is discovering new ways to slow or even stop medical conditions we used to think of as untreatable? I'm Kathy Worzer. Listen to Tomorrow's Cure, a podcast where I interview experts from Mayo Clinic and other renowned organizations. What they describe may sound futuristic, but listen and you'll find out Tomorrow's Cure is already here. Find it now wherever you get your podcasts.
Second half here at Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta. Sloan Martin along with you. The Minnesota Lynx within 2, 42 58-40 against the Atlanta Dream, the third and final meeting of the regular season between these two teams. And the Atlanta Dream, well, they've already done something no other team has done, and that is win at Target Center. Minnesota was 14-0 before the Atlanta Dream interrupted that franchise best start to the season for wins consecutively at home in downtown Minneapolis. But Atlanta trying to force Minnesota into consecutive regular season losses for the first time since July of 2024, and also to become the first team in the WNBA this season to beat Minnesota twice. Minnesota shooting 52% from the floor, but 13 turnovers have led to 18 Atlanta points. The Dream have the basketball to start this game, a give and go. Alicia Gray is going to take it right from the handoff of Brianna Jones right to the rim for two. It's a 4-point lead for the Atlanta Dream, and exactly how they want to come out and start this third quarter. Let's see how Minnesota responds. Kayla McBride, guarded by Howard, takes a bump from her, goes behind the back, reuses the Smith screen, but she turns it over right into the hands of Alicia Gray, and she's going to extend to the rim for two. It's all of a sudden a 6-point lead now again with the way the Dream have responded out of the break. These two teams top two in the standings, top two in offensive rating and defensive rating as well. This is high quality we're seeing here in this opponent. It's Courtney Williams off target. She's been far off target a couple times today. 1 of 6 shooting back here in her home state, has just not quite had the touch. As Brianna Jones, an incredibly deep post up. Jessica Shepard was buried under the rim, and 58 seconds into this third quarter, head coach Cheryl Reeve is going to call a timeout with this run. Now up to 8 points for the Atlanta Dream in their advantage, 48-40. We're going to step aside here, see how Minnesota cleans things up right after this. This is Minnesota Lynx basketball.
Alana Smith, what was your favorite TV show / movie growing up as a kid? I loved Lilo and Stitch as a kid, and I can't wait to see the new one coming out. Who's the most competitive on the team? I would say Courtney Williams is the most competitive on the team, and she'll let you know about it too. Who's the biggest prankster on the team? I would like to nominate myself as the biggest prankster on the team. If you could eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would you choose? I would choose French fries, but in Australia we call them hot chips. So hot chippies. What is the one thing you're confident you're better than all of your teammates at? I just have so many silly skills that I'm okay at, but not amazing at. I know I'm better at doing accents than all of my teammates. My American accent's great. Yeah, I go super Valley Girl. My British accent is great. I'll read the next question in American accent. What's your favorite hobby off the court? My favorite hobby off the court is cooking. I love to cook. You're stranded on a deserted island and you only have 3 TV shows to watch. Which shows are you watching? I'm watching Rick and Morty, I'm watching Ted Lasso, and I'm watching The Office.
A quick burst out of the halftime locker room for the Atlanta Dream. They are dictating right now and getting exactly what they are setting out for. Leading the Minnesota Lynx 48-40, just 58 seconds into this third quarter. Already head coach Cheryl Reeve calling a timeout, and continue to watch the turnover number for the Minnesota Lynx. 14 they've given up, allowed 20 points to the Atlanta Dream off of those 14 turnovers. And when you look at this Atlanta Dream team, they're second to last in the WNBA in terms of turnovers forced, just 12 per game coming from their opponents. Of course, that means they have the second fewest points off turnovers. Minnesota is the exact opposite, where they are second in the league in fewest turnovers and also 4th fewest points off of turnovers surrendered. So that has been a significant departure for the Minnesota Lynx. The Atlanta Dream have just 6 turnovers themselves, leading to 7 Minnesota points, and they're just going to have to become more precise and crisp here off this possession. Courtney Williams, the mid-range jump shot is good. She clapped her hands, some relief you can tell after she started 1 for 6 from the floor. She's got 4 points right now. The play run for her out of that timeout. Atlanta back with the basketball, leading by 6, 48-42. Pow Pow draws the defense in the paint. Hillman will swing it. Howard not able to move Bridget Carlton and get past her. She normally likes to try and get downhill. She tries it again. She'll go for the step back three, and it's an air ball. 8:25 on the clock, and Minnesota back with the basketball, trying to regain. How they started this game, it was different from New York, where their first and only lead was when it was 3-2. They wanted to punch first here. In the words of Courtney Williams after that game, they did just that, leading by 9 in the first quarter, but it has been a struggle since. But Alana Smith gets the position on Ryan Howard and scores easily inside. Minnesota within 4, 48-44 as Gray will trickle it back out. 8 minutes on the clock as Howard will go to the right side of the floor. Pow Pow would come off the bench the last handful of games, back in the starting lineup today. Alicia Gray, one of a couple in double figures for the Dream. She gets it right back from Pow Pow. 4 seconds to shoot, and she will take a long three, just grazes front iron, but the long rebound comes out to Ryan Howard. Pow Pow will drive over to Hillman on the opposite side of the floor. 9 seconds on the clock, back in the hands of Hillman, and poked away by Minnesota. They force a turnover, and back with the basketball, trailing by 4. McBride surveying her offense right now. Smith will slip the screen. Now go set one for Courtney Williams. Williams tries to get the step. McBride, the three, setting her feet. She knocks it down. Another three for Kayla McBride, 701 for her career. She's got 15 points on 6 of 10 shooting. A big reason why Minnesota's staying afloat right now, despite these turnovers and miscues, is Kayla McBride. Here's Alicia Gray spinning in the lane, an elegant move as she extends for the rim. Minnesota was within 1, now down by 3, 50-47. Under 7 minutes to play in the third quarter. Shepard will hand it off to Carlton. Carlton started out this game with 8 straight points. Courtney Williams steps into a long two. That time it doesn't fall. 2 of 8 shooting for Courtney Williams. And now guarding Tahina Pow Pow, orchestrating this offense. She calls for a screen for Brianna Jones. She'll go off the ball instead, looking to get it to Alicia Gray. Gray surveys, will drive, kick. Ryan Howard for 3. That's no good. Tipped by Courtney Williams. When her shot's not falling, she tries to make an impact in any way she can. Her rebounding really strong of late. She will retreat, get it back out to Shepard. Shepard waiting to set a screen for Bridget Carlton. Carlton behind her back. Williams now looking inside, under 10 seconds to shoot. Taking Pow Pow off the dribble. Almost deflected. Minnesota still with the basketball, and it's going to be a traveling violation called on Alana Smith. Maybe dragged that foot, but now 15 turnovers for the Minnesota Lynx. That has led to 20 Atlanta points. Again, not normally a huge part of their offense. They're not forcing a lot of turnovers, this Atlanta team. They're second in defensive rating, but not disruptive in that same kind of way the Minnesota Lynx are. Alicia Gray from the wing, facing up one-on-one against Carlton. Carlton sticks with her every step of the way. Jab fake by Howard, gets herself into the paint. She misses at about 4 feet. Minnesota comes away with the rebound, trailing by 3, 50-47. McBride goes behind the back, trying to shed Maya Caldwell. The hesitation goes right at Bree Jones, and Jones knocks it away for a block. And McBride, a little bit slow to get up. She is flat on the floor on her front side. Now on all fours, trying to make her way back to her feet. And she finally recovers, fixes her hair. And McBride has put in a strong effort today. 15 points. 6 of 11 shooting, 3 for 5 from beyond the arc today. It'll be Minnesota basketball with 15 on the shot clock. Williams has it, and she'll be taking it out, guarded by Howard. Howard tracing the ball of Williams. Williams looking to lob it in to Shepard outside the three-point line. Shepard will hand it off to Williams, and Williams now getting to work running this offense. Shepard goes to set a screen. Williams rejects it, stops on a dime. Shepard jab fake, tries to take Jones off the dribble. She loses the basketball, and the Dream with another turnover for the Minnesota Lynx. And then McBride called for a foul. I think ticky-tack there. She made some contact with Ryan Howard, but I think pretty typical kind of contact you see in a physical defensive matchup. Minnesota trailing by 3, 50-47. It's now 16 turnovers for the Lynx, 20 points off of them for the Dream, who lead by just 3 points. Gray tries to split defenders, loses the dribble. Jones comes up with it. Gray tries it once more, gets it over to Jones. 10 seconds to shoot for the Dream. Looking to get it inside to Jones. Jessica Shepard is trying to provide defense on the interior, but was just overpowered by Brianna Jones. My goodness, she is a body mover when she gets the ball in the paint. 52-47 is Minnesota's deficit, and another turnover. That is 17 now for the Minnesota Lynx, surrendering 22 points off of them. Jones wants it in the paint. She's trying to seal off Alana Smith. Getting inside is Caldwell, but it's turned over again. Minnesota able to poke it away as she was trying to drop it off into Jones. Carlton skipping into the front court, guarded by Jones. She'll swing it along the three-point line. Shepard wants it inside against Howard with some mismatches here. McBride will quickly swing. Here's Carlton for three. She's got it. First point since the first quarter for Bridget Carlton, who started off this game with 8 straight points for the Lynx. She's got 13 right now. Ryan Howard will come out of the paint. Find Gray. She'll spin inside against Bridget Carlton. Her fade is no good, and the rebound ripped down by Alana Smith. Minnesota within 2. They have trailed by as many as 10 points. Have threatened multiple times to take back this lead. Carlton sets her feet. Can't drain the three that time, and the rebound taken away by Naz Hillman. Brianna Jones a little bit slow to get back. Finally fills her lane. And a timeout called by Carl Smesko of the Atlanta Dream. 3:45 to go in this third quarter. 52-50 is Minnesota's deficit. Still shooting 51%. The Dream at just 42% in comparison. But you look at the turnovers is the biggest reason for this deficit right now. Atlanta has even have one fewer three-pointer, so can't even look at that. Only 3 more points in the free throw line. It is absolutely that number that you keep being drawn back into. 17 turnovers and 22 points off of them for the Atlanta Dream, making up this deficit right now for the Lynx. 52-50. Minnesota led by 9 points. Back in the first quarter, looked incredibly strong to start this game. But it has been some time since the Minnesota Lynx even led in this game. You have to go back to the first quarter. Their last lead was when it was 24-23. And Minnesota's kept it after they got through that 10-point hurdle. They have kept it a one-possession game through much of this third quarter so far, but have not been able to get over that hump and regain control of this game. Minnesota in the third and final matchup in the regular season against the second-place Atlanta Dream team. Atlanta trying to become the first team to beat the Lynx twice this season. All 6 of their losses have come to 6 different teams. Minnesota has not lost consecutive regular season games since July of 2024 either. 3:45 on the clock here in the third quarter in Atlanta. 52-50. Minnesota's deficit. The Dream with the basketball. Carrington and Heidemann back into the game, joining Shepard and Williams and Smith as Shepard will sky for the rebound. After that, Atlanta miss, igniting Minnesota on the fast break. Williams with a lot of speed, met by Hillman, gets her in the air, was looking inside. Shepard gets herself open, the hesitation, and she finishes inside. And officially a double-double for Jessica Shepard. 10 points, 11 rebounds. This is her 11th game of 10 or more rebounds, her 7th double-double of the season. She's already surpassed her previous single-season career high, and she continues to put up magnificent numbers in the absence of Napheesa Collier, her 6th straight missed game. Minnesota forces a turnover along the baseline on the other side, turning on the Jets. Courtney Williams almost loses the handle, then regathers it right back. Under 3 minutes to play, Minnesota tied up at 52 with the Atlanta Dream. Pump fake, couple dribble, and a pull-up for Courtney Williams. That's off target. Williams today 2 of 9 shooting. She's got 4 points, but 7 assists for her today. And Atlanta back with the basketball, looking to take this lead right back. Howard patient as Hillman setting a pick and roll. She's going to actually slip that screen instead. They'll go straight on to Caldwell, trying to take Heidemann off the dribble. She loses the handle. Now 7 to shoot in the hands of Pow Pow. Griner posting up hard inside against Smith, and a foul is going to be called on Griner. Alana Smith, even seeing it this many times this season and last, her playing out of position, being an undersized 5. It still boggles your mind how she's able to do it. She was tangled out there with Brittany Griner. She works every single possession to make sure that Griner can't even touch the ball. Do you know how hard that is? It's absolutely incredible work by one of the best defenders in the WNBA. Dejanay Carrington will drive, kick it out to Heidemann. Heidemann trying to get herself some space, gets into the paint. Shepherd now from the perimeter, 7 seconds to shoot. She's looking for some help, and she's going to actually put up and drain a shot from the elbow. Good things happen when Jessica Shepherd is confident and aggressive. She's got now 12 points, 11 rebounds. She leads the team at plus 12 in this contest. Minnesota with the lead again, their first since the first quarter. Gray sidesteps, gets into the paint. The lefty can't convert. Shepherd with another rebound, and she gathers it up in traffic, finds Heidemann to bail her out. Minnesota leading by 2, 54-52 as Heidemann sizing up this defense. Feeds it inside to Shepherd. She wants it one-on-one against the guard and Ryan Howard. She's going to kick it out to Heidemann. Instead, it was tipped. 8 seconds as Heidemann had to go retrieve it over half court. She slices her way inside, stuck around traffic. Carlton wide open for three. Not that time, but Carrington, the offensive rebound, can't convert. The second doesn't go either. It is still Minnesota basketball. Great effort by Carrington. She couldn't get it to go, but keeps this possession alive. 5 seconds to shoot, under 1 minute to play in the third quarter. Heidemann, one-on-one, barrels her way to the rim for two. A patient possession and hard work paying off for the Minnesota Lynx. They lead by 4, 56-52, but the Dream will score immediately back inside. Brittany Griner able to nestle her way right to the rim, and they're within 2, 56-54. This is the back and forth battle we were expecting. First 2 meetings between these two teams decided by 8 points total. Alana Smith will drain a three. Her first make an attempt in this game so far. She's got 7 points. Minnesota, a 12-2 run. Ryan Howard, no rebuttal that time for three early in the shot clock. She puts it up. About a 2-second different shot in game clock. Now 20 to go before the fourth quarter. And Heidemann is going to take a reset here over half court. Heidemann letting time go off, 5 seconds to shoot. Here comes the screen from Shepherd. Heidemann, step back three, not that time. Going for the offensive rebound was Carlton, and she is fouled. Minnesota bringing the spark on the glass against, oh gosh, one of the best rebounding teams in the WNBA, but they are out rebounding the Dream. 31-18. This is a team in the Dream that is first in rebound percentage, third in offensive rebound percentage, first in defensive rebound percentage, first in overall rebounds as well. Minnesota is finding other ways to impact this game. Carrington good on the first. She's been tremendous at the free throw line herself, 4 for 4. Most recently against New York. And now 3 for 3 today. She's got 3 points. Another free throw coming her way with 2.6 seconds on the clock. And Carrington can't convert on the second. Save by Alana Smith. Heidemann has to heave and hit back iron. But Minnesota has to feel good about the way they're going into the fourth quarter, leading by 6, 60-54, trying to turn the tide of how this game had been going in the hands of the Atlanta Dream. And they are right back in it here, going down to the wire. I'm sure it will again, like this series has. The third meeting between these two teams performing as promised. We're going to step aside, have the fourth quarter when we come back here from Atlanta on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
Peter Bogdanovich is a man of many
Peter Bogdanovich burst upon the film.
Bogdanovich is best known as a director of films like The Last.
Peter Bogdanovich helped change the way movies were made, starting with his first hit in 1971, The Last Picture Show.
Thought you might want to go to the picture show.
Yeah, might as well go.
At age 31, he became one of the hottest directors in Hollywood.
All his life, he's wanted to make movies, and he did.
His self-confidence. He knew what he wanted to do.
Now, this movie fan is a successful director.
Peter's career was kind of the ultimate triumph of the film critic, film nerd, film buff.
And he liked being in love.
Peter and I, we were the first unmarried couple on the cover of People magazine. Oh, horrors.
You have her, you have 4 pictures in a row that make
people hated them.
A guy has to learn to hate you.
But Peter's success did not last.
I made a lot of mistakes, but we're starting again now.
And just as he was on his way back up,
she fell in love with another man.
The happiest girl in the world today.
Dorothy Stratton.
he suffered an unspeakable tragedy.
Playboy magazine's 1980 Playmate of the Year has been found shot to death.
And finally, the phone rings. I answered it. It was Hefner. He said 2 words. Dorothy's dead.
I'm Ben Mankiewicz, your host for The Plot Thickens, a new podcast from Turner Classic Movies. Each season, we'll bring you an in-depth story about the movies and the people who make them. Our first season, I'm still Peter Bogdanovich.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
We start the fourth quarter here in Atlanta. The Minnesota Lynx with a 6-point lead over the Dream at 60-54. Their largest lead since it was 24-18. In that third quarter, they regained the lead for the first time since late in the first quarter and just started to find their stride to close things out. A 12-2 run at one point. Kayla McBride leading the way with 15 points. Shepard with her 7th double-double of the season, 12 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Bridget Carlton with 13 points. Those 3 have been leading the way for the Lynx, with Thaisa Collier missing her 6th straight game, 9th overall, as she continues to nurse back from this ankle injury. So he starts the fourth quarter. Minnesota with the basketball. Heidemann, Shepard, Smith, Carlton, and Carrington on the floor. Carrington with the basketball right now from the left wing. Gets it inside to Shepard facing up against Brianna Jones. Takes her into the middle of the paint. Up and under is stopped by Jones. No whistle there, and it's going to be Dream basketball. Minnesota with a 6-point lead. The Dream started the third quarter very well with an 8-0 spurt. Pow has it, uses a screen from Jones, tries to get herself free. Hillman scoreless today, looking to get it inside to Jones. Battling in there is Bridget Carlton in a mismatch, and it's going to be a 4-point play coming up for Alicia Gray. I believe that foul is going to go on Dejanay Carrington. She pats her chest, says, "That's on me." And this could make it a 2-point game. Minnesota huddling up and then waiting for this one free throw. Gray this season averaging career highs in scoring, rebounding, and assists. She's 7th in the league in scoring, 2nd in total threes, 39% from that range this season. And the lefty completes the 4-point play. That is a significant swing right now. The Dream within 2, 60-58 as Heidemann weaves her way through the paint, gets the switch, finds Alana Smith. Behind her back is able to find Shepard. Shepard can't convert at the rim and taken away by the Dream. Alicia Gray sprinting into the front court. Carrington getting the assignment against the lefty. Howard working off of Gray. Some confusion there, trying to regain their spacing. Howard now one-on-one against Alana Smith, far outside the perimeter. Howard will go to the left side of the floor. 5 seconds to shoot for Pow. Howard gets a good look at a 3, can't knock it down. The offensive rebound, Hillman, and she will finish at the rim, her first points today. And the game tied up. Minnesota led by 6 entering this fourth quarter, and about a minute and a half in, tied up here in Atlanta. Smith will move it around the perimeter, cutting inside is Carrington. She's blocked by Gray. And the advantage for Atlanta, 5-on-4. Carrington now sprinting her way back. Gray inside, Hillman back to Gray. Gray steps into a 3, and she drains it. What a turnaround for the Atlanta Dream, and the Minnesota Lynx are going to call a timeout. That's 9 straight points by the Atlanta Dream. I mentioned how well they came out of the gate of the third quarter, doing it again here to start the fourth to protect their home court. trying to become just the only team to beat Minnesota twice this season to send them to consecutive losses for the first time since July of 2024. Minnesota locked in a battle here in Georgia. We're going to step away for a moment here. Have more of this fourth quarter when we come back on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
This is Courtney Williams.
To Courtney Williams, she will launch a three. It is good. And Williams fired up about that one.
Work with us this season and help make our house the best home court advantage in the league.
No slowing down the Minnesota Lynx here in the fourth.
Lynx fans, circle Sunday, August 24th for a can't-miss Commissioner's Cup rematch as the Lynx host the Indiana Fever. The first 5,000 fans score a corduroy bucket hat presented by State Farm. So get your tickets now at lynxbasketball.com/tickets.
At Target, we're home court advantage for the hometown sports fans. And with the Timberwolves season in full gear, we're here to help you gear up and make your game day prep a slam dunk. Hear that? That's what you call a buzzer-beating three-pointer for the win. Time to dish up your famous nachos or put a full-court press on some jalapeno poppers. Then serve up some sweet desserts to celebrate the W. However you do game day, we're here for it at Target and Target.com.
Alex Leibold here with you in our WNBA Tonight studios from the Target Center for a scoreboard update. Only 3 other contests going on across the association here tonight. 2 of them are currently winding down in the fourth quarter, and the other one starts in about 60 minutes' time. The Washington Mystics are in Connecticut for a rematch on Tuesday's matchup where the Sun beat the Washington Mystics 80-69, and it's looking the same way. There is only less than 2 minutes to go in this ballgame, and the Connecticut Sun, who are already eliminated from playoff contention, are winning 67-56 behind 19 points and 6 rebounds from Tina Charles. The Chicago Sky also eliminated from playoff contention. They're facing off against the New York Liberty, who just beat this Minnesota Lynx team on Tuesday. The Liberty are trailing late. It's 89-85 Chicago with just over 30 seconds to go in this contest. It's been a back-and-forth contest all game long. The Chicago Sky keeping up with the Liberty until the fourth quarter, where they took this 5-point lead with just about 30 seconds to go. The Phoenix Mercury face off against the Las Vegas Aces, who have won 10 of their last 11 games. They tip off in just about an hour. Let's head back into Atlanta for an exciting finish with Sloan Martin.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. And I want to point out here, too, as we look around the league, the WNBA announcing it set an all-time attendance record, 2.5 million fans. That was set in 2002 with 16 teams across 256 games. This is 13 teams, 226 games. Just awesome to see. Minnesota back on offense out of the timeout, trying to stop this surge by the Atlanta Dream. A 9-0 burst to start this fourth quarter. Natisha Heidemann is blocked. 2 seconds to shoot. She gets herself free. The long-range 2 doesn't go. Maria Kliundakova offensive rebound. She is blocked inside. And the Atlanta Dream will take back over. Minnesota shooting a 46% from the floor. They trail by 3, 63-60. The lead has flopped multiple times, but the Atlanta Dream have had an answer every time Minnesota tried to create a little more cushion and separation. 5 to shoot for the Dream. Long 3 for Gray. Off front iron, and the rebound snared by Alana Smith. She's going to push it up the floor herself against Bree Jones. Looking for Heidemann. She'll hand it off. 17 seconds on the shot clock. Kliundakova working from the perimeter. Hands it off to McBride. McBride subdued in the second half after an excellent first half. And a whistle's going to go in Atlanta. McBride still the leading scorer for the Lynx at 15 points. Alicia Gray leads all scorers with 25 points, 9 of 16 shooting. So the last foul is going to go on Gray. Trying to get around a Kliundakova screen. And Gray takes off her goggles, goes back to the bench. For Minnesota, Carlton, Heidemann, Kliundakova, McBride, and Smith on the floor. 7 minutes to play in this game. Carlton facing up against Maya Caldwell, trying to take her on the dribble with the left hand. Stops along the baseline, shoots over Caldwell. Well defended by Caldwell as she gobbles up that rebound. Minnesota trailing by 3, 63-60. Jones will maneuver it along the three-point line. Quick swing by Pau Pau, setting the screen for Howard is Jones. 10 seconds now to shoot. McBride defending Pow Pow. Here's Ryan Howard trying to get away from Kliundakova. 3 seconds to shoot. Tries to get her in the air. Kliundakova stood her ground. Defended that phenomenally. She'll push it into the front court. Pick up her dribble. Carlton steps into a three. That's too strong. Kliundakova battling on the glass, but Bree Jones is able to snatch it away. Minnesota trails by 3, 63-60. 6 minutes to play in this contest. Minnesota trying to avoid back-to-back regular season losses for the first time since last July, as Tahina Pow Pow on her birthday lines up a three and drains it. Her second three today. Atlanta with 8, but shooting under 30% from long range. Under 6 minutes to go. McBride down low into Kliundakova. Poked away by Caldwell, but Kliundakova gathers, composes herself, and just flips it up and in on a little baby hook. 66-62. Minnesota trailing right now as Caldwell wildly takes off into the paint. McBride thought it was a travel. Hillman tries to get herself free. Instead, she'll move it around the three-point line. Pow Pow gets a little bit of breathing room off target for three, and that rebound snagged by Alana Smith. Minnesota within 4. Heidemann is going to launch an early shot clock three. That's no good. Long rebound, keeping it right here. And Heidemann now calling for a screen for Kliundakova, one-on-one against the rookie Tahina Pow Pow. Heidemann toying with her, picks up her dribble, bailed out by Kliundakova, thought about a three against Brianna Jones, 2 seconds to shoot. Turnaround jump shot does not fall, and Minnesota not able to score on that possession, forced deep into the shot clock by this team's second in the WNBA in defensive rating. Ryan Howard for three. That is too strong. Naz Hillman able to keep it alive with her extra effort. Flying in is Ryan Howard, and she is fouled. So the Dream being incredibly active right now. They're flying all over the floor. Ryan Howard, though, just 1 of 9 shooting. Make that 1 of 10 shooting from long range. She's got 11 points in this game, 4 of 16 from the floor. Ryan Howard with a couple of free throws, but for this moment, we'll step aside for a station ID.
The Wolves play here on the Timberwolves channel on iHeartRadio.
Two free throws coming up here for Ryan Howard of the Dream. Lynx basketball is brought to you by Treasure Island Resort and Casino, the exclusive casino partner of the Minnesota Lynx. That first free throw is good. Ryan Howard this season, 84% from the free throw line. A couple substitutions. Both sides, Williams and Shepard comes back in. It's starters on the floor for the Minnesota Lynx, playing their 6th straight game without Nafisa Collier on the bench today, wearing a giant Stud Buds chain, showing her support and pride on the bench. But under 5 minutes to play here, Courtney Williams guarded by Howard. She'll pull up from 2. That's no good. And the rebound taken by Brittany Griner. One and done for the Minnesota Lynx on that possession. 68-62. Minnesota trails. And Alicia Gray is going to earn herself a trip to the free throw line. She just knifed her way into the paint. A turnaround jump shot. The contact came. And this team in Atlanta, 4th in the league in free throw attempts per game. Not a particularly great free throw shooting team. 77%. But they get there regardless. 4:30 on the clock. And it looks like Coach Reeve might be challenging this play. .430 to go in this contest here in Atlanta. We're going to step aside. We'll sort this one out when we come back right here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
He was the billionaire financier and close confidant of presidents, prime ministers, movie stars, and British royalty.
Some breaking news right now. Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life.
New York City's medical examiner ruled Jeffrey Epstein's death was a suicide.
Was it suicide or was it murder? Epstein, Devil in the Darkness, will uncover the truth about Epstein's sordid life and mysterious death. Over the course of 12 shocking episodes, members of Epstein's inner circle spill their secrets in world-exclusive interviews for the very first time. Listen as Epstein's personal chauffeur reveals what happened behind the doors of his mansions And in another world-exclusive interview, Epstein's fellow inmate recounts a play-by-play of his final days and what really happened.
I heard his head hit the floor with a thud.
Combining the very best investigative reporting with explosive new interviews and expert insights, Epstein, Devil in the Darkness, will send shockwaves through the highest levels of the establishment and expose all of Epstein's cohorts, the men who thought they'd get away with it.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. Number one for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
68-62, the Atlanta Dream with the lead over the Minnesota Lynx. 4:30 to go. Sloan Martin along with you here from Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta. The front end of a road back-to-back for the Minnesota Lynx, who will be flying and taking on the Indiana Fever. First meeting of the regular season between those two teams coming up tomorrow. And in fact, in less than 24 hours, this was a 7:30 tip. Tomorrow will be at 7. Minnesota 28-6 this season. That is the third best record in WNBA history through 34 games to begin a season. But on the ropes right now is the Minnesota Lynx, where they are trying to avoid consecutive regular season losses for the first time since July 2024. They are trying to avoid losing to one team twice this season. Those 6 losses have come to 6 different teams. And trying to win this season series against the Atlanta Dream, a team that is, yes, 6.5 games behind them in the standings, but trying to make sure they are battling every single night. This is something Coach Reeves said. It is about playoff positioning for the Minnesota Lynx, who, by the way, their magic number to secure home court advantage the entirety of the 2025 playoffs is 4. Minnesota is inching closer and closer. Every win matters just to try and lock that up. So a jump ball is going to be coming up here. It looks like there's going to be a jump ball. There was some contention about the last foul. I wonder if there was not conclusive evidence. But either way, we've got a jump ball coming up here. It's between Griner and Smith, and one by the Atlanta Dream. So they're back on the offensive end. 4:25 to play. Minnesota trails by 6. 68-62. Gray thought about a long 3. She's got 25 points today. Howard will swing it. Pow back into the hands of Howard. Howard guarded by Carlton. 5 seconds to shoot. Howard's going to take it herself. Turnaround jump shot just grazes iron. And Howard today, 4 of 17 shooting. A credit to the defense of Bridget Carlton today. That includes 1 of 10 shooting from three-point lanes. It is a 2-possession game. The Minnesota Lynx can cut the lead in half on this possession. 4 minutes to go here in Atlanta. Carlton finds McBride off a curl. McBride trying to find any kind of space against Gray. Throws it up. Tries to follow her own rebound. And it is taken away by Brittany Griner. One of the best rebounding teams in the WNBA's Alicia Gray tries to go 94 feet, is stopped at the rim by the Minnesota Lynx. Had a nifty move in there. Courtney Williams returns the favor, going coast to coast. Minnesota within 4, 68-64. And she was unstopped, undaunted on her way to the rim. Under 3:30 to go. Howard being hounded there by Jessica Shepard, providing the defense on the exterior. Howard just throws up a shot. It hits the backboard. She's 4 of 18 shooting with her 13 points. Minnesota back on the attack. Carlton, plenty of time, and cans the 3. Bridget Carlton proving she is not someone to leave alone. It's happened time and time again. She's got 16 points, her 4th triple, and the Atlanta Dream call a timeout with Minnesota within 1. Timeout called on the floor here with 3:07 to play and Minnesota within 1. Bridget Carlton with 16 points, 6 rebounds, a steal, and an assist as well. 4 of 8 shooting from long range. And Carlton is coming off a 3-point game, just 1 of 3 shooting in 17 minutes against New York. And her last 4 games has not brought her usual production, just 2 points per game over that stretch on 3 shots per game. And then she has this kind of explosion for the Minnesota Lynx when they need it without Nafisa Collier and on the road as well. This is a new season high for her. Her previous season high was 14 points coming earlier this season. And she's had these moments where she's been able to step up for this team. It's been up and down at times for Bridget Carleton, but this is how this team has been able to win without Nafisa Collier. They had won 4 straight without her with this current ankle injury before that loss on Tuesday at Barclays against the New York Liberty, because the story was every single game, someone else was right there. Someone else was able to elevate their game to uplift this team. And today that has been Bridget Carleton, a new season high, 16 points, 50% shooting from 3. The Atlanta Dream not bringing a lot of defense to her attention, and maybe she noticed that too and said, maybe it's about time. Minnesota within 1, 68-67. Atlanta with the basketball. Minnesota led by 9 points in the first quarter. It's gone back and forth since as Howard tightropes along the baseline, picks up her dribble. Alicia Gray, a long 3, high arcing, no good. It's going to stay here as Shepard and Hillman were battling for that rebound. 2:44 to go. First 2 games in the season series between these two teams, a combined 8-point difference. Either team winning, one of them went to overtime and on the baseline out of bounds. They're going to jump on that real quick. Alicia Gray just scoring right at the rim. A defensive miscue by the Lynx. They trail by 3, 70-67, but still a 1-score game as Shepard will hand it off to Carleton. Carleton getting downhill, extending. She's blocked by Brianna Jones. Jones is plus 21 today. The next highest on her team is Naz Hillman at plus 5. That's the kind of impact Brianna Jones has had this season. She's 6th in win shares in the WNBA. Minnesota has it along the baseline. Courtney Williams gets it inside to Shepard. Now Carleton looking to set herself up. She takes the handoff again from Shepard. Now Williams is going to reset this offense. 3 seconds to shoot. Shooting over Pow. That's left short, and skying for the rebound is Bree Jones. It's Atlanta basketball. Approaching 2 minutes to go. Minnesota within 3, slicing her way inside. Alicia Gray, that's no good. And Minnesota comes up with the basketball. 2 minutes on the clock. Courtney Williams trying to cross up Naz Hillman. Dropping a dime inside. Jessica Shepard is mauled inside by Ryan Howard. And free throws coming up. And her and Howard are having a laugh about that. Both of them with smiles walking away. It's been interesting to see the matchups coming up. We've seen a lot less of having BG and Bree Jones on the floor at the same time. So Ryan Howard has stepped into playing the 4. She's really a guard. She can sometimes play the 2 in certain lineups, and has and throughout her career. And Shepard took advantage there, and Howard had no answer except to maul her. So Shepard steps up. She knocks down the first. 13 points, 15 rebounds for Jessica Shepard. And the second one is no good. The Atlanta Dream with the basketball. It is a 2-point lead for Atlanta, 70-68, going back to work on the offensive end. Alicia Gray gets it over to Hillman. He's been cold today. Slips the screen, gets it inside. Off the feet from Howard, misses, gets her own miss. 1:30 to go. Ryan Howard skies and fires, knocks down just her second 3 today. She had been 1 for 10 before that. Minnesota is going to call a reset timeout. Meanwhile, Jessica Shepard has equaled her season high with 15 rebounds. The WNBA high this season is 20. 73-68. Minnesota trails. 1:31 on the clock. Sense of urgency dialed all the way up right now. Carlton takes it off the handoff, gets into the paint, turns around against Te-Hina Paopao. She is stuck right now. Courtney Williams takes it from her. Her mid-range is no good, and the rebound taken by Ryan Howard. Minnesota trailing 73-68 as Howard crosses over half court. Time on the side of the Atlanta Dream. Going to try and take as much time off here as they can. Paopao from outside the three-point line will drive and kick. Howard facing up against Williams. Waits for a screen from Jones. Jones will slip. 2 seconds to go. Throwing up the shot. It just hits the backboard by Ryan Howard. She's now 2 for 12 from 3. Shepherd quickly into the front court. Getting free is Williams. Alana Smith steps back for 3. She's got it. It's a 2-point game here in Atlanta, 71-73. Minnesota operating exactly how they needed to execute under these circumstances. And Alana Smith stepping up big for the Minnesota Lynx. That continues the story of Minnesota winning without Napheesa Collier. 6th straight game without her. A timeout is called on the floor. Alana Smith, a perfect 2 for 2 from long range. 10 points for her. 4 Lynx players in double figures, led by Bridget Carlton's season-high 16 points on 50% shooting from 3. Shepherd has a new season-high of 16 rebounds in this game. For Shepherd, who is a 6th Player of the Year candidate. She absolutely needs to be included in that conversation. Her career high for rebounds back in 2022 is 19. 44.7 seconds left. You could not ask for better late game execution by the Minnesota Lynx. The speed getting it into the front court. Alana Smith knowing exactly where to go. That corner 3 along the baseline. She's 4 of 6 shooting overall today. Shepherd is 6 of 8 with 13 points. The front court has been tested. They are shorthanded without Napheesa Collier, but they have met the challenge time and time again, offensively and defensively, and maybe no matchup demands more of them than this one right here with the Atlanta Dream. Minnesota within 2, 73-71, trying to avoid back-to-back consecutive losses in the regular season for the first time since last July. Atlanta wanting to take 2 for the Minnesota Lynx. Going down to the wire, 40 seconds left. And Te-Hina Paopao is fouled as she accelerated over half court. Referees pausing for a quick discussion on this play. Minnesota within 2, 73-71. The first quarter was theirs. They battled back in the third quarter, took their first lead since late in the first quarter. It's been back and forth here in the fourth, but the Dream have held the lead for the majority of this game. Minnesota cut down the turnovers in this fourth quarter, and they have been executing at a very high level. So timeout is called here by Cheryl Reeve. So they are challenging this previous call, a foul called on Courtney Williams as Te-Hina Paopao was accelerating up the floor into the front court. So Coach Reed using her challenge right now with 40.2 seconds to go. 73-71 is the Atlanta lead. Lynx basketball is brought to you by U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank is proud to be the official bank of the Minnesota Lynx. This has lived up to what we were expecting coming in. Minnesota certainly at some points looked incongruous. There was a lack of cohesion to start this game, or I should say in the second and third quarter, especially over that span. They turned it over 17 times. 22 points scored by the Dream off of those 17 turnovers. But as we have seen time and time again, it is the grittiness, the resilience, the ability of this group, in the words of Coach Reeve, to self-correct, to be problem solvers. And that's what we've seen in this fourth quarter, to give Minnesota a chance to win this game. They are 28-6 this season. They have won in this building. That came in overtime back on June 27th. It was a 96-92 overtime win. Then the Dream, when Minnesota was 14-0 at Target Center to start this season, beat the Lynx in downtown Minneapolis on July 27th, 90-86. So much lower scoring affair this time between these two teams that are number 1 and 2 in defensive rating, top 5 in opponent points per game. A different story in that way, but the same intensity, the same back and forth blows exchanged. It's been a fun series to watch throughout this season, and don't want to speak too soon, but you wonder if this might not be the last time these two teams meet here in this 2025 season with the way things are going for the Atlanta Dream, who, by the way, have clinched their first non-losing season since 2018. And Coach Reeve and her staff successful on this challenge. How many last-minute successful challenges have we seen from the Minnesota Lynx this season? So originally called a foul on Courtney Williams as Tahina Paopao was barreling down the floor into the front court. And instead, it's going to be a turnover on Atlanta. Minnesota can take the lead on this possession. 40.9 seconds on the clock. Minnesota trailing by 2, 73-71. A gargantuan challenge there won by the Minnesota Lynx. Into Shepard. She'll hand it off to Courtney Williams. Williams looking for Smith. Smith has it along the three-point line. Back in the hands of Williams. Williams guarded by Caldwell. Down inside, Alana Smith muscles her way up. She misses at the rim. Minnesota trailing by 2. The rebound comes to Gray, and a foul is called. Minnesota thought that they had swarmed her, potentially forced a turnover. The ball trickled away from Gray. And now 24.6 seconds left. It is Atlanta basketball. 0.6 of a second different shot in game clock. Minnesota trailing by 2, 73-71. That was a great look inside. A lot of traffic around Smith, but she got right to the rim. They get it back to Maya Caldwell, the inbounder, and then she is fouled by Carlton. Caldwell this season just 67% from the free throw line, though, so that's the right person to foul. I'm wondering why Ryan Howard threw the ball right back to her. Usually a situation you want that ball in the hands of your best free throw shooters, which in the case of the Dream would be Naz Hillman. She's on the floor right now, 83%. But Caldwell good on the first. Ryan Howard herself, 84%, but she gave it up there. It's a three-point game. Shot clock is off, 22.4 seconds left. This one critical. And made by Caldwell. It's a two-possession game right now. A timeout called by Minnesota head coach Cheryl Reeve. 75-71 is Minnesota's deficit right now. Hey, Lynx fans, want to get your playoff tickets before the public? Then you better sign up for playoff early access. Sign up for free at lynxbasketball.com/early access. 75-71 is Minnesota's deficit right now against the Atlanta Dream. 22.4 seconds left. Minnesota trying to avoid back-to-back regular season losses. Since going back to July 2024, they lost at Seattle and then against Indiana. Minnesota on the front end of a road back-to-back. They'll be taking on the Indiana Fever tomorrow in Indianapolis Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Atlanta is trying to become the first team in the WNBA this season to have beaten the Minnesota Lynx more than once. All 6 of their losses have come against different teams. And this Atlanta Dream team is battling for playoff position at this point. They are locked up in a logjam with the Liberty, with the Mercury, and with the Aces, who all entered today within a half game of each other for second place, trailing the Minnesota Lynx by 6.5 games and 7 games respectively amongst those 4. Minnesota also playing for playoff positioning. Their magic number to secure home court advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs is 4. Every win matters. Far sideline out of bounds coming up here out of the timeout. Bridget Carlton, shot clock is off. Finds Jessica Shepard inside. She finishes quickly. Only 2 seconds off the clock. 20.6 seconds to go. Minnesota down by 2. Trying to wall up against Ryan Howard, but it's going to be a timeout. Minnesota again executing at an incredibly high level. Getting an inside high percentage look to Jessica Shepard, who now has 15 points, a new season high of 16 rebounds, 4 assists as well on 7 of 9 shooting. 17.8 seconds left. Minnesota within 2, 75-73. These last seconds have been almost excruciating, but Minnesota is doing everything right, scoring quickly. And they were able to wall up inside. That was not a foul called, as Ryan Howard was just trying to hold on to the ball every way she could. And Carl Smesco calls a timeout. Minnesota is out of timeouts. 75-73, Atlanta with the lead, going down to the wire in this matchup. First 2 games between these two teams, a combined 8-point difference. One of them went to overtime. That happened here in Atlanta. We have presumably not had any lightning strikes, or at least any that have interrupted this game. That's one aberration from the first 2 meetings, but the same intensity and back and forth battle. Starters on the floor for the Minnesota Lynx, 17.8 seconds left. It is Atlanta basketball. They lead by 2. The shot clock is off. Naz Hillman is the inbounder. Gray lost her footing. She gets it into Howard, who loses it out of bounds. It's going to stay. Atlanta basketball. Minnesota continuing to be disruptive. They focus so much on deflections. That was very close. Hillman, time almost running out. It's poked away, but in the hands of Hillman. 13 seconds left. Gray is still dribbling. And it is going to be a violation, a turnover on the Atlanta Dream. The entire Lynx coaching staff was up in arms, jumping on the sideline, and they didn't cross over in time. So it's Minnesota basketball, trailing by 2, 12.6 seconds left, 75-73. Bridget Carleton on the other side of half court taking it out, has Ryan Howard right in her grill, and she's trying to find some help. Gets it in Alana Smith, takes the handoff from Smith. In the hands of Carleton, she skips it over to Courtney Williams. Williams going one-on-one, sneaks her way into the paint. The floater is left short, 1.7 seconds left. It's going to stay right here. Minnesota hanging on by a thread right now. 1.7 seconds left. They trailed by 2. They have a baseline out of bounds coming up right here. Brittany Griner is going to check in to make this inbound infinitely harder. She's going to be guarding Kayla McBride. And that's something Bridget Carleton told me. When you're passing the ball in, Brittany Griner's in front of you, you cannot see. McBride takes about 5 steps back, nearly into the crowd. She gets it into Courtney Williams. She goes to shoot. She loses the basketball, and the game is over. A retching loss for the Minnesota Lynx. So close after such a tight battle. 75-73. But what a battle it has been between these two teams. Just 10 points separating 3 games between the Minnesota Lynx and the Atlanta Dream. And they were right there, just like against New York on Tuesday. They were right there, trailing for almost the entire game. Made it a 4-point game with 2 minutes left. Just come up short. And that happened again here today, where Minnesota on the road just wasn't able to get quite enough to get over the hump. The final score, 75-73. Minnesota with back-to-back regular season losses for the first time since July 2024. And the Atlanta Dream officially become the first and only team to beat the Lynx more than one time. And plenty of others have had their second, third, and even fourth chances. But the Atlanta Dream improving to 23-12 this season. Minnesota falls to 28-7. All right, we're going to have our post-game show coming up next right here on the Lynx Radio Network. We'll see if we can drop into some post-game press conferences with head coach Cheryl Reeve, maybe some players as well from here in Atlanta. Plenty more coming your way. We'll break all this down. Minnesota with a 2-point loss to the number 2 team in the WNBA on the road, 75-73. We'll talk about it when we come back here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of over 350,000 titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
Biscuits. Cheddar Bay biscuits. A convenient and delicious luxury for many. But for LaToya, it might have been the bite between life and death. The last place she'd been seen was at a Red Lobster in Inglewood, California. She was officially announced as missing and had been since July 23rd.
I honestly feel like it's her boyfriend. He's a suspect.
Look, I mean, we were talking.
I decided to start my investigation Jehovah's Witness style. Hi, have you seen... Have you seen this girl?
Nah, have you?
No. Okay. Seems as though these missing black girls are just forgotten. And it was starting to feel like I was hitting a wall. I'm Rose Cranberry. This is Looking for LaToya.
Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
From outside the three-point line will drive and kick. Howard facing up against Williams. Waits for a screen from Jones. Jones will slip. 2 seconds to go. Throwing up the shot. It just hits the backboard by Ryan Howard. She's now 2 for 12 from 3. Shepard quickly into the front court. Getting free is Williams. Alana Smith steps back for 3. She's got it. It's a 2-point game here in Atlanta, 71-73. Minnesota operating exactly how they needed to execute under these circumstances. And Alana Smith stepping up big for the Minnesota Lynx. On tonight's Mayo Clinic Moment of Excellence at Mayo Clinic, we're doing what's never been done. It was an incredibly exciting down the stretch sequence for the Minnesota Lynx, but they fall in back-to-back games here against the Atlanta Dream, 75-73. They also lost Tuesday at New York as well. The road trip continues tomorrow at Indiana. I'm Sloan Martin here for our post-game show here from Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. A 2-point loss for the Minnesota Lynx, and just a tough one to take. Minnesota playing for the 6th straight game without Napheesa Collier, who went down with an ankle injury back on August 2nd against Las Vegas. And against Atlanta this season, she had scored 26 and 32 points apiece. Minnesota was trying to make it 5 wins in this stretch without her absence, but just come up short against an Atlanta Dream team who, with this victory, trails the Minnesota Lynx by 5.5 games in the standings. They're 1 game up on the Phoenix Mercury, and this log jam between 2 and 5 right behind the Minnesota Lynx. It is going to be quite the stretch run in the WNBA to see how that playoff positioning eventually works out. But we had known the Atlanta Dream were obviously a very talented team. These two teams, not just 1 and 2 in the standings, but 1 and 2 in both offensive rating and defensive rating. So I look at that as kind of a holistic evaluation, an overall macro view of a team. And it says a lot about them to be right in that category with the Minnesota Lynx and second to them. They have now won 10 of their last 13 games, and those 3 losses were all by 2 points apiece. So the Atlanta Dream came into this game after they squandered a 10-point lead against the Las Vegas Aces, ended up losing by 2 on Tuesday. couple days later, they win by 2. And it's something Carl Smesko, their first year in the WNBA, said before this game about how bad it felt that they couldn't close. That was a huge point of emphasis for them coming in, and they were able to do that today, improving to 23-12 this season. Let's look over how this one started to develop for the Minnesota Lynx, who dropped this one by 2 points on the road against the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream become the first and only team to beat the Lynx more than one time. They also won in Minneapolis in July as well. In the first quarter, Minnesota started incredibly well. They shot 10 of 13 to start this game. Kayla McBride had 10 first quarter points, and in the first half, she was able to knock down the 700th three of her career. She is one of just 7 players to hit 700 threes. She trails Katie Douglas for the 6th spot by about 20 right now, once that updates, but she was magnificent to start this game. 4 of 5 shooting, 2 of 3 from long range. But the first quarter also defined by Bridget Carleton, who was coming off just a 3-point game against New York. The last 4 games entering today, just 2 points per game on 3 shots per game. And they were missing that production from her. She scored the first 8 points of this game and had 8 points, as I mentioned, 3 of 5 shooting, 2 for 3 from long range. It was an incredibly great way for Minnesota to start this game. But in the second quarter, we started to see the emergence of the Atlanta Dream. They shot 5 for 17 from the floor, yet were able to take the lead going into halftime, just eking it out. And a big reason for that was Minnesota's miscues and turnovers. We'll get to that toward the end of this discussion here, but it caught up with the Minnesota Lynx. The third quarter also really strong for the Atlanta Dream as well, even though they were 0 for 5 from long range. Alicia Gray came alive, had 6 points in that quarter. They scored only 12 points in that third frame, Minnesota with 20, and Minnesota made that charge to make it an interesting game heading into the fourth quarter. In fact, they led by 6 heading into the fourth quarter. So I mentioned Atlanta, just 12 points in that third quarter. They would start the fourth quarter on a 9-0 burst right out of the gate, and they were able to maintain a lot of control over this game. In the fourth quarter, neither team shot particularly well. Minnesota just 23%, the Atlanta Dream 32%, but 4 of their 6 shots were from long range, including 2 from Alicia Gray, who was 2 for 4 shooting, 9 points in that fourth quarter. 5 points in that quarter was Ryan Howard, and she put up a really big 3 late in this game when she had been 1 for 10 shooting. But we know that she has the ability to do that. Even though this season she's shooting just 31% from long range, she's not going to have any fear of letting that fly, especially late in a game. So for the Minnesota Lynx, a 2-point loss to the Atlanta Dream, 75-73. The late moments of this game, they executed incredibly well until that last possession. Courtney Williams losing it out of bounds and capping off what was a 18 turnover game that led to 22 points for the Atlanta Dream. And that's a complete departure of what you would expect in this matchup. Minnesota not only turns it over, the second fewest, they're second in the WNBA in fewest turnovers per game. They average under 13 per contest. They have the 4th fewest in terms of points off of turnovers as well, but Atlanta forces the 2nd fewest turnovers in the WNBA. They're a strong defensive team, but they're not disruptive in that same way. So really flipped the script there with Minnesota offering up extra opportunities, 22 points off of 18 turnovers. So Minnesota had plenty of things going their favor, out rebounding the Atlanta Dream. 42-34 is an outstanding statistic for an Atlanta Dream team. First in total rebound percentage, third in offensive rebound percentage, first in defensive rebound percentage, and then first in total rebounds as well. Any way you look at it, this is one of the best, if not the best, rebounding team in the WNBA, and Minnesota made such a great effort on the boards, out-rebounded them on the offensive glass too, 10-6 to try and control things. But Alicia Gray exploded for 27 points, nearly 50% shooting, 10 for 21 from the floor. She had 4 rebounds, 3 steals as well. She was active, 2 blocks for the Atlanta Dream. Also behind her, Ryan Howard, 16 points despite going 5 for 20 from the floor. She had 3 assists and 4 rebounds, and those were really the stars of the show. The next highest scorer behind them is 3 players, Jones, Pau, and Caldwell, with 8 points apiece. In fact, Brittany Griner in 17 minutes had just 6 points, and she was a huge factor, but she was especially a huge factor in this most recent meeting where Atlanta defeated the Minnesota Lynx in Target Center, where she had 17 first half points, had a season high 22. So Minnesota was able to remove her basically from this game, but Alicia Gray proved to be a handful in her 31 minutes. Minnesota with a 2-point loss here against Atlanta, 75-73. Looking on the Lynx side, Bridget Carleton, a new season high for her, 16 points, 50% from 3, 4 for 8 shooting, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal in there as well. She set the tone early and continued her aggressiveness throughout the game. You could tell there was a different kind of spark, a different kind of demeanor than what we've seen the last 4 games, and she tried to really capitalize on that. Alana Smith, you heard coming into this segment here of our post-game show, hit a huge 3 late, 10 points, 6 rebounds for her in 37 minutes on the floor, and also guarding Brittany Griner, barely allowing her to touch the ball. She shot it 5 times. Brianna Jones also struggled too. She only shot it 6 times, so credit to Minnesota's front court for how they were able to shut down this Atlanta Dream team, especially the combination of Jones and Griner. And even you put Naz Hillman in there too. She had 2 points. It was exquisite defense by that unit collectively. Jessica Shepard with a new season high, 16 rebounds. That's 3 off her career high from back in 2022. 15 points for her. Her 11th game of at least 10 rebounds this season. Her 7th double-double. Absolutely one of the strongest candidates when it comes to 6th player of the year. The way she has stepped in for Napheesa Collier, and this is coming off a game in New York where she had a career-high 7 offensive rebounds on Tuesday. This is now 3 straight games of 10-plus rebounds for her, and she is averaging a double-double when she is in the starting lineup, 7 for 9, shooting from her, also 4 assists. Kayla McBride also strong in this one, 15 points for her on 50% shooting, knocked down 3 threes, became the 7th player in WNBA history to knock down 700 career 3-pointers. So congratulations to her. 4 assists for Kayla McBride. Courtney Williams with 6 points, 3 of 14 shooting, 5 turnovers, but did have 9 assists and 5 rebounds as well. The bench was quieter in this game. They had 38 points against New York, 11 points today. But the leaders in plus-minus were Courtney Williams, actually plus 15, and Jessica Shepard plus 11, showing off their impact, even if the numbers don't always jump off the page in the case of Courtney Williams. 75-73 is the final. Minnesota loses back-to-back regular season games for the first time since July 2024. Atlanta becomes the first team in the WNBA to best Minnesota more than once. They have taken 2 of 3 and take this regular season series against the top team in the WNBA. All right, coming up, Alex and I back to wrap things up when we return right here on the Minnesota Lynx Radio Network.
At Mayo Clinic, we're detecting the undetectable. Using advanced AI technology, our experts can accurately detect signals in the human voice that are indicators of coronary artery disease. We're making more possible at Mayo Clinic because every day we're doing what's never been done. Learn more at mayoclinic.org/possible. Mayo Clinic, you know where to go.
Looking to shoot your shot and score big, all while giving back to your community? Pilot Games is bringing entertainment with exciting electronic pull tabs to bars and restaurants across Minnesota. Every play is a shot at a jackpot and an assist to a local charity. It's entertainment with a purpose. So next time you're out, look for Pilot Games. Big wins, local impact, nothing but net. Learn more at pilotgames.com.
Minnesota with a 2-point loss on the road here in Atlanta, 75-73 to the Dream. Head coach Cheryl Reeve talking with media right now here at Gateway Center Arena.
Deserves credit for putting us in that spot. But I thought we were about as bad at passers as we could be in that first half. Obviously cleaning it up gave us a better chance, but obviously not enough.
And last one for me is, I believe earlier in the year you mentioned wanting to see Bridget around that 10 shot attempt mark. She had a season high for both points and shot attempts. I don't think she's hit 10 shot attempts in a game in a little bit over a month now. Just kind of what did you see from getting her the ball and getting those attempts and, what she can take away?
Yeah, we set the tone with her, Terry. We set the tone with her. The matchup starting the game, we knew who would be guarding her. And so we got aggressive and, got her off, with the mindset of being aggressive. And we just talked to these